Great.
Okay.
Here we are. Okay. So we're a bit early actually, so
By 3 minutes.
yeah. So we're gonna wait a moment. We're gonna just.
Yeah.
Hey, Dane. I think you're the only one in the chat right now. But okay, so this is Mohammed. I'm Marco. I'm at Monomere on Twitter, and my studio is at Demimont Games. I'm the developer of the game, and Mohammed is basically the
QA lead.
the QA lead. Yeah, the Demimont QA lead, and he is also a very, very good friend. And we basically he helped me throughout the entire development of the game. And we're just gonna start playing the game really, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna switch back and forth. Mohammed is gonna play for a while, I'm gonna play for a bit, and then I'm gonna talk about whatever comes to mind really. And if there's any questions, if there's anything anyone wants to ask, then just go for it. We're watching the chat, we're watching the Square Enix chat, and we're watching the Demimont chat, so yeah, I think we should start. I think we should start a new file.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, we should. We should.
Let me just. Where do I have the window? Okay, here. Because then I can actually see if we're on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
I love the story bit. I love the story bit because if you're just a regular gamer and you've been seeing the GIFs and the videos for the game, and it's also colorful, and then you see this video and it's just somber, black and white, really atmospheric sounds, and it's just the total opposite of the game, and I just love it. It's such a...
But some people have had strong reactions in the other direction, sort of, that they found it's not, or they found it clashes with the game, but I don't think so. I think that's kind of what I had in mind. I wanted to have a contrast, a really stark contrast to the rest of the game. And I also thought that for me there was always something mysterious about the game. There was always something that was kind of otherworldly, that was weird, that was and I thought I could capture that. And the idea was to have, you see, the Octahedron basically brings color to the world. It's the only thing in color. And that was supposed to sort of lead you into that world full of color, where you have the black and white story, and then all of a sudden there's this Octahedron, and it's the only thing in color, and that goes throughout all the black and white sequences, including the ending too.
Hey Ben.
Hi Ben.
Good to see you here.
And the illustrations were made by Ina Hansen from Norway. She basically did all the. I made a storyboard. I even had text in it, and originally I wanted to have narration, or I wanted to just have like text that sort of explained what's happening, but that was all scrapped because it just didn't make sense for a game that was otherwise completely visual, like that relied on visual cues and barely any text throughout. But what I did is I then animated everything, and all her beautiful detailed art, I just ruined it with my blur and noise filters.
That's what I like about it. Actually.
Yeah, no, I think that really it fits the style of the game. It fits what we're going for, and that sort of that hazy, almost silent film look of the intro. I really like that.
I think we're gonna answer Kung Fu in a little bit. One thing I wanted to say about this screen is that my favorite thing about it is that obviously there is no text telling you what to do, and on the screen before that you kind of see something that
there is now.
Yeah.
But if you wait around for like, I think it's like 90 seconds or so.
I think most people just really get impatient and they want to try everything, and you know that this jumps and you just try something else and it connects, and if you still don't get it, the game tells you. And this is another screen that you really spent a lot of time obsessing about, because you don't want to tell people right away what to do. And a lot of people actually on stream kind of like they do this, they fall, and then some of them actually just pick up on the surfing, which I thought was really, really nice. And if you don't If you fall, I think a few more times, maybe.
Yeah, I think you have to get hit twice, and then it shows you the thing, which is fine. And it's funny because with this tutorial section, I struggled for a long time where it was revised many times, simplify it, just make it simpler and simpler. There was more text originally, and then you could see that we have people sometimes skip this, or they jumped into a save file where they started on 1.1, and immediately they would not understand the surfing. Yeah. They would struggle with that if you don't play through this, and it's very simple, but that's really all you need. And it's the only there's I think there's 2 tutorial strings in the text files of the game, and that's basically it. They're all right here.
One funny thing about this screen is that I saw one streamer who was afraid of touching the light bulbs. So he just jumped like this
that's true.
And avoided them. And so you would think that, well, he missed something crucial in the tutorial, so maybe he will just spend the entire game missing them, and just right at level 1.1 you will see right away that you cannot miss the light bulbs, and you will get it right away.
Yeah. Okay, I think we should answer Kung Fu's question about the enemies resembling viruses. I don't know if there's a deeper meaning in the sense that the viruses were just a design abstractions, like so many things in the game, for a long time, and then I came upon the bacteriophages, and I thought, oh, this works, and the game slowly started to have these. And the funny thing is that if you look at what they actually look at, what some of these viruses look under a microscope, you see that they have these geometric shapes. As their heads, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, this fits so well with the rest of the game, right? And then I think there's another enemy in the game that is inspired by a potovirus, I think it was called, and then there's other like microbiology stuff in the game. There's like the cells that sort of duplicate, and it just sort of came from there when I started realizing that those microorganisms sometimes have shapes or parts of their bodies that look like octahedrons or dodecahedrons or other polyhedrons, and it just fit with the story and the rest of the game. So it was a pretty easy decision to just start basing enemies on those ideas.
The cursed plants, that's what I would call them. I hate the plants so much, and Marco knows it. And every time we see someone play a level with the plants, which is like, they're introduced in World 4, World 3?
World 4, 4.2.
Yeah, and every time I see someone streaming the game and just going, there's a certain section where you do something really cruel to them. It just makes me feel so good, because I hate them. They're so annoying.
Yeah. And the plants came from the idea that, so a lot of games that have puzzle elements, they introduce really early, they introduce elements that negate your main power, the thing that you have. And I always hated that about games where, okay, you have this power, you can do this, and immediately in the first world or in the beginning section of the game, they introduce an element that makes you not be able to use that power. And I always hated that. So I wanted to wait for as long as possible with that in Octahedron, and that's where the plants came from. But I didn't want to just have like areas where you couldn't make platforms, so I thought I wanted something more natural. So that's when I came up with the plants. And there's a lot of challenging games that have enemies that you love to hate. In Mega Man 9, I think it is Mega Man 9, where you have that enemy that sort of swoops in and it just carries you and pushes you around the level.
It's in Galaxy Man stage. Yeah, it's really annoying.
And we all hate that enemy. It's a great design of an enemy. And I designed the plan specifically for you to hate them, because I didn't make them stop grabbing your platform, even if they can't get to it. I wanted them to constantly try to grab your platform, even if they can't get to it. Yeah. So I think the idea of an enemy that you love to hate is something that appeals to me in a way. But I wanted to wait with it, obviously, until you're further into the game. Oh, that's funny about the bulbs thing. If you, Chris, because if you, I was thinking today actually about making an unlockable mode that is a no bulbs mode, where you don't need to collect any diamonds, just like as a speedrunning mode, because if you do an any percent speedrun of the game, you can basically not. You still cannot just completely ignore the diamonds or the flowers and the light bulbs, because you need a certain amount to complete the world. So it keeps you from being super, super fast, because you always need to consider, okay, how many light bulbs should I destroy? How many diamonds should I collect? and I like the idea of, well, I just don't want to care about anything. I just want to get through the level super fast, and you can't do that if you start out from the beginning and you want to do an any percent run, right? So I'm still considering it. I think for speedrunners it might be interesting to have like a no diamond run where the bridges are just unlocked from the beginning and you don't need any diamonds.
By the way, I really love this stage a lot, because I mean, Octahedron from beginning to end is really a game about teaching you the mechanics as you play and not as a text or anything intrusive. And this is something like, this level is a clear example of that, because a lot of the time, for example, you see streamers or like just players doing this,
totally.
and they realize they can do that, and then of course your second thought is, obviously I want to use these platforms to just jump here, and you already get the idea that you can complete these by just moving. But also, these pipes are first introduced in this level, and my favorite thing about them is that there was another light bulb here, and just because you play the first entire level and you're just breaking bulbs all the time, you get this instinct, kind of like in the Mario games where you want to collect all the coins, and you just come here and you just want to break the light bulb, but then suddenly you realize that there's a pipe that takes you elsewhere, and it's just beautiful level design.
And I put the triangle right behind the entrance to the light bulb, so that you want to go back immediately when that happens. So you sort of learn how the pipe works. And most people, they actually get into the pipe because they want to get to the triangle, right? They jump and they don't yet realize what the pipe entrance does, and so they immediately get sucked into it, and they just sort of realize, oh, fuck, I didn't get to the triangle, and then they go back. So immediately you have a back and forth. They realize, oh, I can go back through the pipe too. And that was basically the whole thinking behind how to introduce that first pipe.
Another thing that I also like is that both of us share the same hatred towards games where suddenly you reach a point where you can't go back to collect something, and in Octahedron, I see a lot of people realizing that, oh, we missed the triangle, and then they realize they can just go back and just jump here, get the triangle, and just continue their way. And this is in every single level. You can just go back, go to any, like if you're at the top of a level, you're just about to finish it, and then realize, oh wow, I'm missing a triangle. You can literally just backtrack through the whole level just to get that one. Yeah, and that is really nice. I like that a lot.
And it might not be graceful, or it might not be even fun having to backtrack through the whole level, but for me, even psychologically, I always hate having to. I have to restart. I have to just. I missed that one thing at the beginning, and I have to restart. So I don't really care, even if I have to go all the way back to the beginning. As long as I can do it, it's fine. And that was very important to me. And it influenced a lot of the level design, because I had to rethink so many things that you take for granted in platformers, that a screen scrolls and then that's it. You're on the next screen. You're not going back. And having to design levels, especially in terms of the camera too, that you can really always go back whenever you want, has changed a lot of my thinking about the level design.
Yeah, definitely.
Kung Fu, when you said I kind of interpret this as a hint of something taking over the main character as you are playing, what were you referring to? Because I kind of missed the context of that message. Oh, the virus enemies, right? Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I'm not really sure. I just wanted to. I don't know that I really thought about it, or that I really made a point of thinking about it that hard. The viruses were just. Well, one thing that you probably noticed is that, and that was hard for me to do a lot of the time, is that all the enemies in the game, there's no enemy in the game that has eyes or really a recognizable face, right? And it's very typical to sort of anthropomorphize things and have, like, a typical video game cartoon character is just some random object or an animal or something with just eyes. Like, people make fun of that sometimes, of that design. And this was very intentional that I have had all enemies and everything that looked like it was alive not have a face, not have eyes. And the reason for that was simply the alienation aspect of it. I wanted this world to really seem very strange and not organic and not like you couldn't identify with something. Nothing has eyes. The most like the plant has obviously has a mouth and teeth, whatever, but it doesn't have eyes. And you'll find no enemy, absolutely nothing that has eyes in the game.
I like how Kung Fu says cheat code.
To give everything Google has. Yeah, that could be done. Just make one eye sprite and just plaster it over.
Just ruin the aesthetic of the game by doing that.
If you play the prototype versions in the collector's edition, there is one enemy. There's the spider. I experimented with having eyes on it at one point just to see what it would look like, and I hated it. I really hated it. Not that there's anything wrong with giving things eyes necessarily, but it just didn't fit the aesthetic of the game.
Yeah.
It just didn't fit the game. Yeah.
So I think this is a good question by Chris. Did you ever have to reluctantly redesign a level to factor in
Yes.
removing points of no return?
Yes, many times. There were situations where it just... so what happens is there's aspect... Well, what happened to me is this. I had to... Basically, I had situations where... So there's destructible floors in the game, destructible walls. There's things that... are permanently changed even after you die. There's blocks, there's things that falls, there's chains, and once you destroy those, they're gone. It doesn't matter how many times you die unless you game over, unless you lose all your lives. And I took that as sort of for a while that bothered me. I thought like, oh, you're just robbed of experiencing that again. You destroy it once and then you die 4 times, but it's always going to be solved. But once I started to realize how much of a challenge a lot of these levels were, I took that as I actively started implementing shortcuts that way. I thought, okay, this part is really hard, but since it's something that is destructible and the next time you go through it, you can just skip it, or there's floors in the game that you can destroy and the only reason they exist is so that the next time you don't have to go through the whole complicated puzzle again. You can just go through that floor that you destroyed before. And that had to do with the point of no return thing too, because it made me realize that you can backtrack, but you can also, when you go forward again after you die, you can go through certain things a lot faster because they're shortcuts. But redesigning levels specifically because of point of no returns, it's hard to find a good example because many levels have changed so much over time. Though that was definitely a thing because you're designing sections of a level and you constantly have to think about wait, can you get back from this? And there were lots of moments where I was suddenly like, damn, this is a really interesting section, but it's interesting because you're locked into this area and I can't have that. I can't have you not going back. So yeah, it happened many times that I had to just redesign things. The cursed plants levels. Yeah. The lore, I think it's fine if you ignore that, by the way. I mean, if you just say like, I don't care about the story, I don't understand what's going on, the ending, why did this happen, what is going on, why is there a tree, how much time passed, like why do these cutscenes even exist, they're meaningless or whatever, that's totally fine. Honestly, you can play the game, you can skip those things too, you can pause them, you can skip them, because one thing I always hated, I have to go to the bathroom and there's a cutscene playing and I can't do something, I can have to sit there and watch the whole thing. So I wanted them to be pausable and skippable, and I'm completely not offended if people skip all the cutscenes and everything, because it's a gameplay first and foremost sort of thing, so that's totally fine.
Yeah. What I like about them is that, I mean,
what's the canon name for what?
Chris, yeah.
What was it about? What did I say? What name did I give?
Even this, I just love this.
Cursed Plant?
Cursed Plant.
Oh yeah,
it is canon now.
I have very boring names for most of that, and trust me, it's no fun. So I'm fine with any other. I asked the chat on a stream the other day to come up with the name for the character, and I think they came up with something absolutely terrible. Like, I think it was, and I'm just being like Dan or Bob or something like that. It's something really dumb. But that's fine. Hey, we don't even know, the guy is genderless, basically. We don't really know if it's a guy. It could be anything. It could be a girl. It could be whatever you want it to be. So
yeah.
Octahedron. No, I think actually someone said Ron. Someone did say that.
That would be a nice bun. Actually, not a nice one. No, let's not do it.
We should actually talk a little bit about levels you're actually playing, because this is really.
This is another example. I mean, the levels in this game get extremely.
Square Enix votes Ron. Okay. Okay, I'm okay with that. Totally up for that.
I mean, even in this section, you can backtrack. I don't know why you would want that, but you can.
Why would
backtrack.
you want that?
So, my favorite thing is you start here, and the game does a lot of neat stuff with this mechanic, but it's really introduced in a just like all of Octahedron. I mean, I can see that this is your principle with introducing new mechanics, new enemies. Is that you do this well?
It starts with it off. Look, this is how it starts, right?
And then you jump,
and then you jump again. And people are some people are hella confused. You're like, this is never gonna. I'm never gonna get out of this.
Yes. And then of course you just realize that you can't play with this. You can manipulate it however you want. And it's just beautiful that it's also down here, because you can just and you see a collectible and you can just do this.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you feel good that okay, now I got this. I get how it works. And I mean, in one screen, it's here 3 times, and by this point you just get it. You just know what this mechanic is all about. And then you can subvert it. You can do anything you want with it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, there's a lot of mechanics in the game that people, I see. There are some people that don't understand how some mechanics work, and they play through entire levels and they master the mechanics, but they still don't know how they work.
Yeah.
And this was always something interesting to me. Like, and this is something I noticed, that you can teach a player something, or you can make them play through something, and they have an intuitive understanding for it. But when they stop and think about how it actually works, they can't really explain it. And I'm okay with that, because if there's no text in the game and there's no explicit just spoon feeding of the mechanic, as long as the player can make it through. I have one playtester, our friend Mel. She played through the entire game. She got a lot of the par medals and everything. And I would ask her about these mechanics, and she says, I have no idea. I never think about it. I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
And I would ask her, oh, you already activated this switch, or you did this. Oh, I did? I don't know. I just played through the level. I didn't really follow anything.
Yeah, and actually when you think about it, you really want to design levels for people who don't necessarily understand level design like we do, like the
you don't have to. No, it's not an intellectual game.
You just want it to feel natural, and we saw this a lot when we went to EGX.
Yes, that's true.
Where people of all ages, young, old, men and women, they would just sit and they would slowly see things and figure them out. And you really want to make the problem solving satisfying. You don't want to make it too easy, so people don't feel that they're accomplishing something, but you also want to make it feel good when you solve it. And I think Octahedron really manages a nice balance of that.
I actually yes, Mickey Crab Milk Mickey. I don't know what they call this. I'm just gonna say the whole name. Yes, that's true. And in fact, but here's something you have to understand, and I didn't understand this about level design before I started making this game. It's that if you really, really want to make the player understand everything organically, you're going to spend half of your level design on that. Not that it takes up the whole level, but just thinking of ways to teach something organically. And in fact, I dismissed entire mechanics just because they were not easily teachable. There were some fun mechanics in the game that I realized if I really wanted the player to understand this, I would have to go out of my way to really explain it, like with text. And I'm like, I don't want that. It doesn't fit the game. So let's just discard it. Let's just get rid of it. And that's this game, right? I mean, those mechanics could have worked in another type of game, but for this game, when a mechanic was too complex to make the player understand it organically, I would just discard it.
We actually discussed
casual mode. Yeah,
we talk about this a lot. One game I think that both Marco and I agree that did it really well is Mega Man, because Mega Man. We're talking about the difficulty, by the way, that because you didn't say it because Chris just pointed out if I was interested in making a casual or like an easy mode or something like that. The thing is, some games like Mega Man 9, I don't remember if 9 did it, but 10 did it, where if you choose easy mode, you can just have some of the spikes covered with platforms.
Yes, yeah.
And my favorite thing about it is that you play the game right away on easy mode, and you can see
That's 10. That's
yeah,
easy.
it's 10.
Yeah.
And you play the game on easy mode, and when you see those platforms, you realize, oh, like they are special designed platforms that make you think these are
They wouldn't be there if
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly.
And it's a subtle way to not make you feel like the entire game has changed. It's just making it easier to just traverse the game, basically.
But here's the thing about easy mode. I was seriously, I mean, Celeste had the assist mode, right? I've never tried it, but it was very explicit about being, okay, this is not the regular thing, but they allow you to do anything with assist mode from what I understand. They allow you to get achievements, whatever. They don't punish you for using it. And that is always a slippery, I mean, like, you have to just make it explicit that this is not how the game is meant to be played. But if you start actively punishing the player for playing on an easier mode, I don't know how I feel about that. I'd have to try that. But so I was on the Man vs. Game was playing the game the other day, and I was in the chat, and there were like 2,500 viewers, and I'm like, I said that in the chat, I was thinking about putting in an easy mode. How do you guys feel about this? And I asked the chat, and the opposition was very strong. Like, people were just very, very opposed to this idea, and I'm not actually surprised. Like, they said, oh no, I'd hate that. You're going against the vision of the game, and if you do that, then some people are not going to understand that the standard mode or the normal mode is the way to play, and they're going to miss out on the challenge of the game. And those are all valid arguments, but maybe if as a game designer you make it clear that this is a special mode for people who really struggle, then it's okay to have an easy mode. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's his audience. Maybe it's Man's audience that is kind of unique in that way. Yeah.
The way the hidden sections are, because if you really look close here, you can see that the pattern is a little. Let me get out of the way. You can really see that the pattern here is a little bit different.
You can see that there's something going on, yeah.
And it's really it's very subtle, but it makes you feel good when you finally just catch it.
But what happens a lot is that, so that's the reason why this triangle is really high up too, because people always get to that section and they look to the left and they think, okay, what's going on here? There's no way I can, like, they usually play through this entire part, and then they get to the part where they see the triangle on the left, the yellow one, and they think, wait a second, what's going on here? I can't get to that. And the thing is, there's something curious that happened with the level order here, because the level after this 1-6 originally came before this one. But I felt it made more sense to cap the world off with the level where you had 5 platforms, and a level that was kind of a rush where you just go up. So level 1-6 actually more explicitly introduces the secrets by very, very clearly having a light bulb with its cord sticking out behind the secret area, and the secret area that you can easily just go into, and then you realize, oh, there are secret areas in the game. And this level doesn't have that. So people go through this level and don't realize what's going on. Why can't I get to that triangle? And then they play 1-6 and they discover the secret area, and they realize, oh, there are those areas in the game. Like, there's stuff to discover that's hidden. And then sometimes they go back. And I was actually okay with that. I was okay with the idea of people playing through this level and not understanding that they can get through this triangle if they discover the hidden background thingy. But it was actually more of an accident that I explicitly introduced the secret areas in the next level after this one, but already used them in this, because everything before this did not use any secret areas.
Kung Fu, about the difficulty. I think my favorite thing about Octahedron is that
it's not perfect. Chris, sorry I interrupted you. Just continue with your thoughts.
Because I think Mike said that the easy mode on Celeste devalues part of the game.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm the king of bad analogies, and now Marco's gonna laugh at this analogy. But I remember on the first album that I worked on with Marco, I told him that we finished the album. He gave me the masters, and
we're talking about music albums now, by the way.
Yeah. And he gave me the masters, and then I listened to the full album in the car the first time, and I told him my favorite thing about this mastering is that I listened to the entire album without without touching the volume knob, because everything was just on an even level. This is really very different, and now I realize this is a very bad analogy, but this is something I always appreciate with, like, even with Mega Man games, when you play and you feel like this is challenging. Now you're now in the wily stages and they're really challenging, but it's not something that just makes you want to tear your head out. The challenge has to be fair. It has to escalate slowly until you realize that, or until the game realizes that now you bosses everything. Now you know how to deal with all the challenges that they presented you with, and they can just mix and match them without it feeling like it's kind of a bad or unfair challenge. And this is something, as a player, I really appreciate about Octahedron, is that the game spends the entire first world just teaching you a lot of the mechanics, and even in the first world, a lot of mixing and matching, and it's just a lot of fun to see that.
The thing that was early on, by the way, I had always decided from the very beginning that the first world you wouldn't have a weapon, even though the game started with the weaponized platforms. Immediately, the prototype had those right away, and it had enemies in the first level. In the very first prototype level, there were enemies. There were all sorts of different platforms to kill them. But I knew that I didn't want to actually introduce any sort of weapons until the second world. I wanted the player to get really used to just the platforms. It's just and then for some people it's even a surprise. Oh, I actually get to defend. I actually get to kill enemies. I actually get to fight back, sort of. And I think that works for this game because the platform thing is really quite new and quite different from other games. One thing about this level I want to say is that, so I was always concerned about this section here for a very long time, and I'm actually surprised at the positive reaction that I got for the whole thing, where you have to slowly, like, you send a platform through with the elevator thingy, and it just goes through, and you have to slowly make sure that you alternate between the blocks. And I have been very concerned about this because I thought the game is deliberate in the sense that, okay, you can often just stand still and think about your next move, right? It's not a game that has a constant forward push, and that was very intentional. But still, you have to. It's a slow section in that. Not what Muhammad is doing now by getting the triangle, but actually getting to the exit, because you have to alternate between the two blocks, and you have to go from one platform to the next and slowly do that, and it's a bit slow. And I felt like, does this really work in a game that is otherwise, while deliberately paced? If you're in a flow, you're in a flow. You don't just stop every 2 seconds. And I was concerned about that, and I actually made it shorter. It used to have, like, I think 3 or 4 more platforms when you have to go up and you alternate and everything. But the surprising thing is that on every stream that I've seen people go through this section right here that Mohammed just finished, everyone's always like, oh, this is really clever. Oh, I love this. Oh, this is great level design. And I'm like, I was really surprised because I was concerned that people would think, oh, this is so slow. It's a slog. I have to just, and then I mess up and I have to go down again, and I have to do the whole back and forth, the switch again. But surprisingly, people like this.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. When I talked about the music analogy, midway through I realized, why did I brought this up? But Kung Fu just answered me. He said about the difficulty, it's an even volume.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
But wait a second, an even volume is not something you want for a game. It's supposed to, like...
Yeah, that's true.
You don't want it to start.
Yeah.
It just medium, and it's just always the same.
Yeah. I think I think he just means that it's fair. It just feels fair. Like, even in the most challenging stages, like 5T.
Can music get harder? I don't think so. Like, you don't start it out with an easy song and then you just...
No.
You end up at the most difficult track at the very end. No one understands it. It's an Aphex Twin track, the last one. Yeah.
So this is one of the... This is one of the stages where you suddenly have 5 platforms and you feel a lot of freedom, because it's not just 2 anymore.
Yeah, you end with noise. It's just white noise, the last level. Which actually is funny, because if you know the ending section of the game, then you know it gets quite... things get pretty out of hand at the during the end game. Yeah, exactly, Dane. Mickey, do you mean the final stage? Do you mean the Octahedron, or do you mean the X levels? And by the way, I want to mention something about the Beatles here that people call them birds, they call them bats, they call them all sorts of things. I'm okay with that. I know they're very abstract, so it's fine. Like almost every people sometimes ask me, okay, why are they X? Why are they Beatles? Or why are they this? And it's the best explanation I can give, they were never that. They were just a design necessity. So basically, since you make your own platforms in the game, it was really important to me that there were anything else that wasn't just strictly ground or wall. That a lot of these platforms are sort of unpredictable or how should I put this? They were platforms that you could stand on, and they would not always be safe. And the idea appealed to me of having a platform that would suddenly disappear once you go higher. So the idea of the Beatles came from this, that okay, the platform exists, you have solid ground to stand on, but once you continue through the level, because you're going up, suddenly the platform goes away. So when you fall, you're kind of screwed, or you have to make sure that you plan your moves ahead. Okay, where do I want to go? Because once I'm up there, once I'm a little higher up, the platform's going to be gone. I can't just safely fall again. And that's how the Beatles came to be, because it made a lot of sense to have a platform that actually gets dangerous for you. So Beetles are inside blocks and they chase you. It wasn't this, I didn't just come up with a random crazy idea of, okay, let's have these Beetles that are blocks and then, or that are trapped inside blocks and then they break out and chase you. It was the idea of, as you progress through a level, the platforms that you used to stand on, they become unsafe, or they disappear, or they even become dangerous. And there's a lot of these ideas in the game, and they just sort of manifested in different ways, and the Beatles were just basically one part of that.
They do resemble a Galaga enemy, I remember. Like,
yeah, someone said
the way
that,
they
yeah.
go back, I like it. Maybe it's unintentional, but I like it.
Yeah, the Galaga thing, yeah. Reactions to the X levels, yes. There's quite a few people who beat the game. And it's always fun when they get to the X levels, because the reactions they're always fun to watch, but they're different from person to person.
I mean, just imagine with me. I've been watching Marco develop this game since 2013, and I've seen the game through all the stages. And then one day, Marco was really excited about something he discovered. He knew what he wants the end game basically to be, because I always heard Marco just debate
I can take over for a bit. You can just talk and I'll just play for a bit. Like,
you always had this like, you always thought, how many levels should I have, how many wars, how much is enough? And then of course you design enough levels. But one day I came to Switzerland, because I live in Kuwait, but I came to Switzerland a lot to just work with Mark on his game, on the Brave Wave stuff. And I think I played through the last ward, and then I went to the broken levels. And when I saw what happened, and when I went to X11, it was just shivers all around. And I just told him, and the music was just perfect. The music is still one of my favorite tracks on X11, and it was just such an amazing moment, and a beautiful subversion of what you're used to. Of course you're gonna end up with infinite platforms, and it just makes perfect sense that now you have infinite platforms, and the world is just it's just going bonkers. And it was just such an amazing thing to see after so many years of seeing the game just follow its traditional formula. It was just an amazing subversion.
Okay, I'm paying attention to you and paying attention to the chats. I'm really bad right now. But the X levels were not designed at the end of the game, by the way. They came, I think in the middle of working on World 3, and I had the enemies first. So they had the light bulb enemies. There was always this idea of, so I want something in the game that seems benign, that seems on your side throughout, like the light bulbs, to turn against you at the end. That was where the light bulb, the bats came from in the X levels. So originally they were introduced in World 5. World 5 used to start with a level that introduced, and actually still have that level, that introduced the bats, and there was an entire level around just, okay, light bulbs suddenly turning into bats. And then I was working on the X levels, which were just broken levels at the time without those enemies, and I realized, wait a second, this would make so much more sense if they were their own thing inside the X levels, those enemies. And I scrapped that level, the original 5-1, which was about the light bulb bats, and decided, yeah, this was inevitably going to happen. We have a cat on the stream. That's fine. That was inevitable. This is Janosch, by the way, so say hi to Janosch.
Hello.
He already left. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And then once I realized that, wait, okay, they fit the broken level so much more because now everything turns against you, right? Like things that you used to think that are safe are now attacking you. So I redesigned World 5 completely and basically said, no, these need to go here. Like many other things in the game that were ultimately scrapped. There were so many things, so many mechanics, so many ideas, so many platforms that just ended up not making sense, or they diluted the core idea of the game, or they just kind of made things more complicated. I got rid of that, and I designed most of the world, most of the X levels before I even started on designing any World 4 levels. And then once World 4 and World 5 was done, I turned more World 4 levels into X levels, and that was basically it. And also the boss fight at the very end, spoiler, people watching the stream, actually we're spoiling everything anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The boss fight was an idea for a very, very long time. It changed a lot. It changed a lot. And I thought, when I started designing the boss fight for real, I realized that originally I thought I wouldn't be able to make a level where you keep going up and up and up and up and up. But then, stupid me, it took me, the boss fight took a very long time to design. Yeah, it took a very long time. And I designed, so the entire boss level is procedural in the sense that the platforms that appear and how they appear and the distances and all of that is all procedural. And I designed this stupid procedural algorithm just for one single level, just for that. And I had to come up with a way to have a repeating level that was basically endless, like we have in the boss fight, just for that. Because the game was not designed for that. Absolutely not. The levels were pretty much, you go from A to B and that's it. There's no very traditional level editor. And all of a sudden I had to design a level that was going to be endless. And I had no idea how I was going to do that, because nothing in the game was designed around that. Nothing was ready for, all the tools were just... And that's one of the reasons why there's... why that boss took me so long to create. Because I suddenly had to come up with not just a procedural stage that would go on forever, but also with a way to actually make a game a level endless, because Game Maker specifically is not designed for that. If you use the level, the room editor, which I actually don't use, but I load levels externally into the room editor in Game Maker, it's really not made for that. Levels have a set height, and that's it. And I use a lot of tricks to sort of get around that in the final level, but I think it's worth it because the whole point is, yeah, you go through an infinite to an endless level, you go through the top and you exit the world, and I think it paid off in the end. But man, making a boss battle, some people said, oh, why are there not more boss levels? Because they just take forever to make. It takes so, if you want to make a good boss that has tells, that doesn't feel unfair, that you can beat it on the first try. Many people have, because really every you forgot. You do not want to get the triangle, by the way.
Did I miss a triangle?
It really bothers me when people don't get the triangle. I'm sorry.
Maybe I missed a triangle.
Yeah, you did. It's the hidden one right here.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for getting that, by the way, because I really hated it when you just...
It's difficult to concentrate on you and the chat.
I know. Anyway, yeah, the boss... but the boss was... The idea of the boss had been in the game for a very long time before I designed the actual fight itself, and the code was getting totally out of hand. Also, so many different phases that I think all blend into one. When you play it, it's just a rush and you don't really realize all the stuff that's going on. But also, who designs a boss fight? I'm sorry. The first boss fight that I've ever designed in my life, and makes it something that is completely open. It has procedural. It has platforms that can be anywhere. That you can go up and down, and you can. As usual, I thought I was making something easy, and it's definitely not. My first boss fight I ever made, and but I think it turned out okay. Actually, the boss fight was
not okay. It's amazing.
The funny thing is, it was barely playtested. I'll be completely honest. There's not a lot of people who actually beat the boss before, like I have. But apart from that, no, not many people have actually.
I think I'm missing a triangle.
Yes, you are. I'm extremely offended right now.
Is it somewhere there? No, it's not. Don't remind me.
No, I won't. It's a hidden one, I think. Oh, Square Enix is telling you what you missed.
I missed something for sure. I can't tell.
So Mickey says he missed the calculated platforming from the earlier levels. Yeah, I understand that. Once the X level started, blah, 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 refreshing the gameplay for more overall contrast, which fits given everything. So really, the thing is, the X levels are actually not that hard, and that's deliberate, because I think a lot of people linger in those levels longer than they have to, even if they. Whether they get the triangles or they don't, they just kind of take everything in, they're confused, but yeah, they're kind of deliberately messy in the sense that some people even miss the fact that you're essentially playing through a broken version of the original world, right? So they don't really, they're the same levels that you played through before, just the path through the levels are different because everything's broken. I placed those electric things everywhere. Yeah, X39 is not that hard. I think, I don't know. X39 is the one with the glitchy lasers, which are my favorite thing in the game, by the way.
Oh, I love them so much.
Yeah, they are.
I love them so much.
Yes, but also for is it? I don't know, for something. The very last level in the game is the one that is completely open, has no walls, and it also has the glitchy lasers. So I think people are just terrified of the glitchy lasers because they really are. But they're totally predictable. Predictable in the sense it's always like 45-degree angles, right?
One guy said that I cannot deal with this RNG, but it's not RNG.
It's not. It's definitely not RNG. It's just. But for me, maybe I'm too close to it in the sense that for me, the original levels are so familiar that I just expect people to just, you go to the X world. Oh yeah, these are the same levels, right? These are just, but people play through the X world and they arrive at the end of world X4 and they're like, I've seen this level before. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize that they were all the same levels basically. So I was a little too confident about people remembering what the original levels were. But I think ultimately they serve their purpose as just a rush until you get to the final boss, right? And if you ignore the triangles, you can just like blast through them super fast.
I told you this the other day, but one thing I love about the broken levels is that they remind me of Mega Man 3's broken Wily stage. Before you go to Wily stages, you go to the broken Mega Man 3 levels.
Oh right, the robot. What are they called?
I think Doc Robot stages.
It's really embarrassing that we don't.
It is because we're huge Mega Man fans. And we work with the Mega Man composers.
Yes, that's true.
But I love them because you step into those levels and a stage that was like set in like daytime, now it's night, and a lot of the enemies have changed. A lot of the enemies are more aggressive.
It was part of the inspiration for the broken levels, actually. The Mega Man 3 having those levels that all of a sudden there's new bosses in there. There's things have changed. Everything's kind of different. You have to go through them again. Only Mega Man 3 they can get kind of annoying. I hope they're not too annoying in Octahedron, the X levels. But I had so much fun. I actually would have liked to make more. Wanting to destroy the beehives. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, let me just answer that. Okay, the beehives. Well, yes, of course people try to destroy them. I thought I just want to give you the satisfaction of being able to knock them down. Being able to just... But to me, like... So in 5.2, you can knock the beehive down so far that it really isn't problematic anymore. But I want you to be able to do that and just feel like it felt like something that I had seen, or that that happened. The bees actually get a little more aggressive, and there's one more bee coming out when you knock the beehive down. Probably a lot of people didn't notice. So and also, if the beehive is not active and you knock it down, then it'll immediately become active. And in certain situations, you don't really want that. So really, all you're doing, like sometimes knocking down a beehive is just more of a punishment. Maybe I should have made it more. Maybe I should have made it worse. I should have made it like just double the amount of bees that come out of it, or made them get more aggressive.
It's already obnoxious, so no.
But actually, the reason why I didn't do that is because I was afraid people wouldn't realize that. They wouldn't realize that the bees get more aggressive once they come out of the hive. So it's just like, just to make it just a tiny bit worse. And the X level bees are already more aggressive anyway. So, which is something that I would have liked to do more of. Just break more things, make more things full of that poisonous acidic ooze or whatever. But the way I have it now, I think it's a pretty okay balance. More bees. More bees are. There's nothing wrong with more bees, in my opinion. I think that the more bees, the better, basically. No, I know people don't like them, but
I think they're my second
patch notes. More bees. Yes, I definitely agree with that. I'm gonna make an update where it's just like
bees everywhere.
Just generally add more. I'm gonna make what about a bee mode? Where every level just has bees in it. It would be fun. It would be fun in World 1 because you have to really defend yourself against the bees.
So awful.
And actually, the bees they do come out with the beat too, out of their beehives. So there's more bees. Every level has. Whenever you make a platform, a beehive spawns. What do you think about that idea?
That would actually be a really cool level to just...
No, it's not, because you know how many platforms on average you make. You make like 50 or 40 platforms or so.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, 50 beehives.
Just bees everywhere.
Have to re-optimize. There's a max amount of bees that can be on screen at a time, I think, so then they just stop spawning after a while. It's the same with the cell enemies, because they just get too much after a while, so...
Good bun, Kung Fu. Good bun.
The bees will always follow. Actually, the funny thing about the bees is their AI. They have a really dumb AI, but I did one thing that makes them look smarter than they are, because I didn't want them to be like... So, the beetles are the only enemies in the game that have actual real AI. Like, they have a search algorithm. They really know where to go to find you. They'll go around obstacles. They're the only enemies in the game that are actually smart, like AI smart, right? But the bees do something else. The bees just have this really stupid... It makes them look smart. Like, if they try to get to you and they bump into a platform or an obstacle or anything, a wall or something, what they will do is they will go back and try... They will just move back a little bit and they will try a different way. They will try down and up. They're not smart at all. They just sort of realize, oh shit, this is an obstacle. Oh, I shouldn't curse probably, but they just realize this is an obstacle. I shouldn't go this way, and they go back and they go somewhere else, and they go, and that felt really insect-like for some reason for me. But by the way, I want you to show Chris this shortcut because he doesn't know about it. When you go up the over here, yeah, there you go. I saw his speed run, and this is just a little cute shortcut, and so there you go.
Nice.
Well, I saw your speedrun, Chris, and I'm sorry, but you didn't know about the shortcuts. We just have to point this out. You found some cool ones though that I was not aware of. That I just, yeah. But the bulb enemies, yes, they have the more the most sophisticated. I say that actually about several enemies, but no. The light bulb enemies, they have a slightly more sophisticated AI where they will, they wait to attack. They slowly sort of try to find a way to get closer to you. But if you are not in their line of sight, they will just sort of hover around and see if they can see you from somewhere, and they will move around a bit. And once they do see you, they're pretty aggressive. But what they also do is, because they realize that you're going up, they will not always attack straight forward. Like, they will not always just make a run for you, but instead, when they sort of notice the player's just going up, they will do that. They will target a point above the player's head, above the direction he's going in, and go there. So they will really mess with you. Like, you're just saying, oh, I'm going to ignore the light bulbs and I'm just going to go up. But that's where they will go to. They will just keep going up and try to get right above you so that you sort of bump into them when you keep going through the level. But that's essentially randomized. Sometimes they'll attack you, sometimes they decide to avoid you, and it's always in an upwards direction, or they will go to just screw with your flow, which is not very nice, but that's what they do.
By the way, one funny thing is I remember when people started speedrunning the demo before the game was
That's
out.
Chris. That was Chris who did that, yeah.
I remember we watched him play, and both you and I thought, this guy already plays better than us. We've been playing this game for 4 years, which is insane.
Shouldn't have said that like publicly on a stream right now.
Maybe, yeah.
Can
we do something about like...
No, we can just not upload the video after. So they're the only ones
to do that, yeah.
So, but I basically throughout the entire development of the game, I was like, oh, I'm playing this game for like thousands of hours, literally. I'm like, it's gonna be a while until someone really gets good at the game. Like, it's gonna be a while until someone gets as good as I am, because I do all the parts and I kind of speedrun through the levels. And then a demo came out, and I think Chris speedran it on like, I don't know, he got a really good time. He found quite a few shortcuts in the demo levels on the first or second day. And I was watching, and I was thinking, fuck, this guy's already this sucks.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's but no, it is true. I think if you really focus and I'm trying to rationalize this right now, but I'm really failing. Whatever. I'm 35 years old. It's just that my motor skills are just not as good as they used to be. That's my excuse, basically.
Yeah, not a bad one. Not a bad one at all. You played the demo at EGX.
Yeah, I think both at Rest and Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of people are surprised by this section in the game, in this level, right? So there's this section here with the secret, with the hidden wall.
Oh, this is one of my favorite screens of the game, because I remember I don't remember which streamer it was who looked at this
and I said, no, damn, fuck it.
Yeah, I just want to finish the level, and then I remember.
Wait, before you go inside, I want to say, this was my entire intention. I'm just rewarding the brave, because I had designed this originally. No, I actually started designing this as, I want to make something that looks extremely daunting. Like, if you go in here, this is it. Like, you're never going to get through this. Or is it really worth going through this for the triangle? And we've seen streamers, and that was so satisfying. Streamers look at this and like, nah, this is not worth it. I'm just going through the exit. And people who go in right away like, wait, what is going on?
And I remember when I first played this, I just told Marco, I can't, I'm gonna die, I can't go in here. Yes, and he just told me, just go, just take a look. And then of course I took a look, and it was just amazing to come here. And
like, I'm not sure if this is by the books or like smart level design, or if anyone is gonna write about this as ingenious.
I love it so much.
But the entire idea was, I just want to reward people who are brave enough to go in there, and that's it. Basically, once you're in there, you realize, oh, I can just literally walk through the trial and get it.
Yeah.
And it was really satisfying to see people ignore it, because it looked daunting, it looked dangerous. Yeah. So if I felt like, this is it, it's justified what I did. Even though the people who actually did go inside were really confused. What's going on? Why can't I just walk through this? And
And I think it also works because the game simply doesn't do that.
Yeah, I know it doesn't usually, and I'm not into the whole.
I love this level. I love this level so much.
This is a really early level, by the way. So 2.5 is. Wow, this dev accidentally put ceilings in this room. How silly! Exactly. Yeah, accidentally, exactly.
This is. I mean, the game starts subverting its mechanics from the very beginning, but this is one truly good subversion that I love, because the game is about going up. Of course, sometimes you go down, but the game is just really about climbing up, and then you go to the exit, and this just subverts the idea.
You're about to get like killed by. Okay, good.
A lot of this is just blocked, and you just have to go out through the entire level up, and then you go down again, and then you unlock everything, and then it's kind of like a different stage.
Yeah,
and you just play with that.
So, no, this was a really early level. I had designed a couple of World 1 levels. And it was one of the very few levels that I designed on paper. This one.
Yeah.
So not the entire thing, but the idea, the sort of destroying the having a switch that destroys the level, because there's another level like this that I think, because of its complexity, a lot of people don't realize exactly what's going on, but it's Binocle. I don't remember what the level, it's in World 4, where you have an entire level that is sort of these boxes, and within it are always the small viruses, the keys that you have to unlock so you can go with a pipe to the next one. And for me, this is a sequel to this level, because this level is basically all about navigating a space that looks pretty forgiving and easy. And what am I doing? Like, I'm going up and down. It's kind of fun, but there's not that much going on. And then once you unlock once you destroy the thing at the bottom here that unlocks all of the brick doors, as I call them very boringly, then of course the whole level changes, and what you thought before was one level is different, and it suddenly becomes a whole, like it was split in half, right? You go up and down, and all of a sudden it opens up, and the design of the level and how you progress through it from the bottom up changes. And it was a bit of a challenge designing that, like having a level that works both if it's split in half and once it's completely opened up. But yeah, it was an idea that existed in complete abstraction first, because I just wanted to have a level that changes halfway through. And the one in 4.3, which is really dumb that I don't remember the level number. I think it's, I don't know, what is it, 4.6 or, well, I don't know. It's called Binocle. And it has these little sections you go through, and you unlock the keys, and once you're at the bottom of it, you charge, you have this little charger that you charge up, and then the pipes get blocked, and then you have the thing that you destroy, and then all those gates or those transparent, slightly transparent blocks, they get removed, and you have to go all the way up to the level again, but it completely changes because all of those, suddenly the level interacts with the elements that you couldn't go through before. And actually all the triangles in that level are not even collectible until you're on the way up through it. And I, to be completely honest, I think unless you analyze it, unless you look at the level and spend some time understanding what it's doing, you're probably not even going to get that, which is, I don't know if that's a mistake, if that's a good thing or not, but generally people get what's going on, but they don't really understand that they're going through the same level again, just from the bottom up, and everything has sort of changed because the level opened up. But I just like these ideas from a design point of view, because they're fun to design. It's fun to design levels that suddenly change halfway through, and your approach, your play style changes.
This feels good.
Yeah.
These exist
These exist just, I don't know, just so that you rush to the opposite. Just a little extra rush to the exit, because otherwise, they're not strictly needed or anything. And now I'm already in world, like close to the end of World 2.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing about me, that something I do when levels are when there's a level order, it's like 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, that I will play by that order no matter what choice you have. So in this game you sometimes have a choice between 3 or 4 levels or something like that, and every single streamer that I watch, they will go through the levels in order no matter what. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna give people a choice, that's so nice. But no one cares. Yeah. People just play 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, and that is how I am.
Yeah.
But I assume because platformers do this sort of thing where they give you a choice between different levels, that that people want this.
Yeah.
They want to have a choice. Oh, it's fun. I suck at one level. Oh, I'm just gonna move on to a different one. But actually, no one really seems to care. Yeah. They all just go through it linearly, and.
True.
But it's fine. I mean, I thought of it more as a thing where, okay, I can't complete this level, so I'll move on to a different one. But so far, I haven't seen anyone do that.
Actually, I forgot a lot of the things in this level, so that's a good thing.
What, you mean the?
Like, I don't remember any of this.
So I have to shamefully admit something. This is we're gonna just trim this out of the final video archive upload. Can you even do that? I don't know if you can.
I have no idea. We're all people. We don't
I'm not good at Twitch. I don't know what they actually do at the end. But basically, what I want to say is that, so you have these background, these sections where you sort of go into the background in this level. And shamefully, I have to admit, it was complicated to code this. And I made this level, and once you go further into the game, a lot of new elements are added, and almost everything is super hacky about how this works, about how you go into the background of the level, how you sort of interact with, how you are not touched by enemies that are in the foreground. And the thing is, I noticed it was very difficult to make the later enemies and the later mechanics work with this whole background thing. And I just thought, what are you doing exactly?
I don't know. Oh,
you have to take the...
I'm an idiot, of course.
Yeah, this thing. Oh.
Yeah.
So, because every interaction with these background elements was hand-coded, because there's so many different things that are going on in the game, so many different mechanics, that's also why there's no level editor, because many things in the game just don't work with each other. As you would expect. It's not like a Mario Maker type thing when you can just throw everything in and it'll just magically work and interact. There's no unifying physics engine or anything. Everything is hand-coded. So the reason why this is the only level where this appears is literally because I just couldn't make it work with any other elements in the game. It was just a pain. It was a pain to get it to work with other enemies, with other... And so it's like, I think pretty much the only element in the game that only appears once, and this level. Did you ever consider letting people not complete all levels but allow them to get collectibles in all but one so they could skip it? 8 levels, only complete 7, get down to 7. Yeah. So Chris, yes, I did consider that. The thing is, there was one problem because it was really important for me to introduce something new in almost every single level. And there are some levels that don't necessarily introduce something new, but that just combine 2 elements or 2 or more elements in a unique way that you hadn't thought about before. Yes, I originally had thought of making it so that if you have enough diamonds, you just can get through the bridge and that's it. You don't have to complete all the levels. Basically, you complete 4 out of 5, 8 out of 9 levels or something like that, or even 7 out of 9. There were 2 problems with that. One was that some levels were really crucial in introducing elements that were later used in the game, that if you hadn't seen them in the first level that they appear in, you would be kind of screwed. You would not understand how they work in a later level. And trying to make that work in the final game, trying to arrange the levels so that I had a non-crucial level that could be optional, and then I could ensure that other levels that were not optional and were in a position where you were forced to complete them, it started to get really complicated. And because I don't know what you do for that.
I'm missing a triangle.
I'm missing a triangle. Okay.
I don't know what it is.
And because of that, I was making my life really difficult by trying to find a way to arrange the levels so that some of them would be optional and some of them wouldn't. It just didn't work, and it was no fun. It was no fun for me to find a way to. Like, if I would make it so that the player could not complete a level that had a crucial new mechanic in it, all the subsequent levels after that, it started becoming a mess because you were 1 or 2 worlds ahead, and I had to think of ways to explain a mechanic in a new level that had lots of other mechanics in case the player didn't complete that level. And I thought that was not interesting because I had to sacrifice so many ideas for I would have to sacrifice so much of the level design just for that. So I just decided, whatever, screw it. People just have to complete all the levels to get to the next world.
Okay, so this is a hidden section. But
yeah.
What does it do?
You got a triangle just there.
Oh,
yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
that's
you did.
True.
You did. But there's another. No, that's it. You can continue now. Towards the end, there's get people to play all. Yes, a lot of levels are introductory. Yeah, Chris, exactly. Basically, once the bonus levels sort of fell into place, like the idea of having optional upgrades, it occurred to me that, well, those are the optional levels, right? So it's fine. People can play those levels, and those are optional. And in fact, the entire game is balanced around not having any upgrades. I never completed the game, or I never balanced anything in the game by getting the upgrade. And in fact, I don't like to get the upgrades. I don't like to get the surf upgrade. I don't like to get the drill upgrade. And this is my favorite Sacred Triangle because people go literally insane finding this. And to me, it's so obvious, but it's funny.
Of course, to you it's obvious.
Well, yeah, I have no. I could absolutely. I can't.
Yeah.
There's no distance here. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, everything is obvious, of course.
Yeah.
No, but the bonus levels. Yeah, the bonus levels. They were the optional ones, and the bonus upgrades. It's completely fine if people get them, and of course, I love the bonus levels because they're some of my favorite levels. They're the ones that I pretty much most of them design at the very end of the game when I felt like I knew the most about what the game is and about level design in general. I had learned so much over the years. But I have seen people complete the bonus levels but then not get the upgrades because they say it makes the game too easy or it feels like it's not intended. And actually they're kind of right in the sense that the levels are designed about no upgrades.
I don't care. I want all the upgrades.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want all. I want to feel like a superhero, and this is seriously what you feel like when you get all the upgrades.
What happened? Which level was that? Kung Fu with the a clip. Did I miss that? Or did you mess up in this level? Or did you die a lot? Or what happened? Okay, we're probably still gonna be around, Chris, when you come back. So no worries. I want to know the story though about what happened to you in this or the previous one. I don't know.
I get this first.
Yes, this is oh, I was there. Must have not to go in the exit and get the triangle, and I went straight into the exit. It's a little. I mean, there's plenty of room to not go into the exit, but it's. Oh, I remember now. Yes, I remember the part of the stream. But it's okay. It's actually the level that triangle was brutal for a lot of people. I think finding that there's only one that's worse, and I think it's. Oh, damn! I don't even remember now which one it is. Oh, one that is really hard to get is 4 triangle. 4 triangle is just hated by a lot of people because it requires such precise timing, of course. Incompetence. Oh, I don't know about that. You were doing pretty well there, for the most part. Okay, I need to go to the bathroom really quick. You just keep playing and talking, please.
That's what I'll do. It's gonna be difficult just talking by myself. Well, that's gonna be fine. Yeah, I've seen a lot of streams, but I don't remember much about this level, which is actually a good thing because I wanna get back to Kuwait and just I wanna play the game. I wanna collect everything, and I want it to be as fresh as possible. Okay, that worked. So I have everything. That's good. Every time I see the light bulb, I just the heart bulb. I just remember when the game basically started with just you get hit and you die immediately, which was really difficult at the beginning. The levels were designed for that, but I'm glad at where it's at right now. I think it's more fair, especially later on when you just start forgiving yourself for dying a lot, because the levels just get way more challenging. I actually forgot what I should be doing. Oh yeah, that is such a piece of. It is bizarre that breaking light bulbs just gives you flowers for some inexplicable reason, which I really love. Ooh, I remember now. Yep. So I think I want to do this first. These are my favorite because everyone just... You can think you're good at hitting these, but then you stop playing the game for a while and you realize how little rascals they are. They just... There must be something here. Nope. Nothing? Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think everyone has to, even though you don't see something different about it, like you don't see this the kind of particular design, you still want to check it out, just because the game kind of teaches you to do that, to check every corner. I just love getting to the point where I can kill these key enemies so fast. It's just so satisfying. Can I actually push this? Probably can.
How did you wreck this whole thing? Did you get yourself into it?
No. I was just. It actually took me some time to figure this one out.
Oh yeah.
And right. I remembered how a lot of people actually.
Some people brute force their way through this, which is fine, especially if you're speedrunning. I always thought this was a pretty straightforward puzzle, but I guess. Oh, that's Curtis. Hi, Curtis. Curtis is like a big supporter of the game from like day one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he played the game at EGX 2014. Just joined the chat. Oh my god, are you serious, Dane? Like, you didn't notice that the light bulbs created the flowers until about mid-game? Wow, that's... I'm not really sure. In your defense, though, that happened early on in the game with some playtesters that they didn't realize that. But I made it so explicit. I thought I put so much like feedback into how they grow. Sort of made it slower, how they grow out of the light bulb cords and everything. That I thought people would just get that, but I think some people just didn't make the connection. I'm not sure what to say. Does it matter? Is it a bad thing that people don't notice that? Is it?
I mean, people just find stuff at their own base. I think that's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't prevent Kung Fu from being pretty good at the game and collecting almost everything. So I just whatever. I'll just chalk this up to, yeah, that's totally what I intended, because I just wanted it to be intuitive, and I don't care if you understand or not, as long as you can sort of intuitively collect everything. Which is, by the way, something that I'm sure speedrunners hate, because actually the distribution of diamonds inside light bulbs is random. So there's about, I don't know, there's up to 50 light bulbs, I want to say, in a level. And the way they, like, and there's only 30 diamonds. So how they spawn, like, which light bulbs spawn diamonds is completely random. There's some light bulbs that will always spawn diamonds, that is hard-coded just for usually it's for teaching the player, or I want there to be a flower there for the satisfaction of destroying this particular light bulb, or I want there to be a flower there because I want the player to go there, and then they would be forced. So I mean, the level editor, I could just say, okay, force a flower or a diamond to this light bulb. Or sometimes light bulbs will hang from a ceiling where there's no way that a light bulb can spring from it, or it doesn't make any sense if it's a floor that you can't walk on, or if it's inside another thing that you can't go to as a player, then I will just force them not to have a diamond. But I would say certainly about 80-90% of light bulbs in a level will have randomized flower distribution. And I since I'm so into speedrunning, sometimes I was concerned about that, because I thought speedrunners are gonna really hate this. And I'm kind of glad Chris is not here right now, because I think he still hasn't figured out how that works with the live, and I think he's speedrunning the game, and he must hate that aspect of the game, that there's no way to tell which light bulbs are gonna. Oh shit!
Oh, he's here.
Spoke too soon.
Oh yeah, he's here. He's doing everything, all the tips and tricks.
Damn. Okay. So here's the thing. The funny thing is, early on, one of the optional upgrades, but I thought it's so specific and it's so much about speedrunners that I removed it. One of the optional upgrades was a speedrunner's badge that would show you the location of light bulbs inside, show you the location of diamonds inside light bulbs as you go through the levels. So you could ignore the light bulbs that definitely didn't hold diamonds. It was still a dynamic thing in that you would have to decide on the fly if you wanted to destroy those light bulbs or not, but you could see like a diamond. And that speedrunner's badge icon was in the game for quite a while. Like for a while, the idea, and I had sketched it and everything, But then I thought it feels oddly specific, just for people who want to. I have a huge thing for speedrunning. I really love speedrunning, but it felt like most people would not care about that, so I just removed it. But maybe it's a thing that I should bring back one day.
This is another level that I.
Oh, there's man, I'm so bad with names, but I think I'm remembering everyone's name today. Pixel Squid, Luca, right? If this is wrong, I'm gonna be so embarrassed right now. Yeah, I think Luca is also someone who has played the game at EGX, or at least in Birmingham. Rest, I think, too. So, yeah, okay, awesome. Jesus Christ. Okay, good. I'm remembering names. That's a first for me. By the way, why are you going back up?
It upsets me to see platforms that are supposed to be.
That you can break.
So I just break everything.
You break everything.
This is
I understand
bad.
that.
This is
That's kind of a compulsion that I can relate to.
Yeah.
How expensive do you think an Octahedron cosplay would be? Well, so what do you
It's
like?
a jumpsuit. I want to say, like, it's just that sport suit that just sticks to your body.
You know, that's really revealing though. Like people have called this a pajama, like a what have they said, like a neon. And the funny thing is, yes, I think it does look like a pajama. It looks like like a white pajama suit with triangles on it, and I can't disagree with that. It
We
really
should make an official line of like Octahedron pajamas.
Yeah, but if it's like a tight sort of bodysuit,
Yeah.
it sort of reduces the amount of people who are willing to cosplay. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And also the head is the easiest part, I would say. Just make a massive octahedron and just put it on your head, hole in the middle. It's easy to make that out of cardboard, I think. What is that? The Resk vibrating motor neon suit? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's something. When they revealed the Rise Infinite, they invited the press and they let them wear like basically a vibrator suit, which must be really interesting.
What did it vibrate though? Where does the vibration come in?
I have no idea. Probably a
full body vibrator?
It's probably.
That seems like it would be very uncomfortable.
But I don't know.
Or maybe very exciting. I don't know. Depends what you're willing to do in public, I suppose.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's just a white thing, and you just put a bunch of triangles on it, and you
It's so easy.
It's very easy. I'm actually going to be very disappointed if I'm going to be at Rest, at EGX Rest, in April, in a few weeks.
In 2 weeks.
And if no one shows up in a sort of white neon pajama and with an octahedral head, I'm going to be very disappointed. I just want to put this out there for the meager 9 viewers that we have on this thing. One of you guys, expect you to be there at Rest with the neon pajama and the octahedron head. Wow, I don't know what you just did there.
Because I realized this is the first bottomless pit in the game.
No, there's other ones.
Really?
I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe.
Oh wow.
I do want to see I wouldn't mind seeing that, Dane. You with an octahedral head and what am I talking about? Let's focus on the game again. A Venus fly. That's a good idea. Oh, actually, you know what? Cosplaying as the cursed plant. I think that would impress me all more because that's a little obscure.
It is.
I don't know how you would pull that off, but I'd totally be up for that. I would. What should I? Should there be a price for that if someone actually shows up? Should we say that now? If someone shows up, you should come. I would like to see you in that.
I can't. I know I don't want anyone to see me in any cosplay. That is just.
By the way, I just want to point out at Rest 1 year ago, I was wearing shoes with like these. What are they called? Like flashing lights on them. I was wearing like a neon hoodie. I was wearing like a sort of bracelet thingy that was like glowing and flashing. I looked a little bit like a raver, and I did that all in just to promote Octahedron. So I just want people to understand this is okay.
I did that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We all had those, like on our shoes, on our.
Yep.
It's this the.
I'm missing a triangle and it's driving me nuts.
You went down, right? At the bottom?
I think so. I mean, yeah. Why am I missing?
Curtis says he's stuck on 4-2 getting the purple piece. If I only remember what 4-2 was. Oh, 4-2 is the one with the cursed plant. Cursed plant. Okay, someone just linked to. Mickey just linked to the rest to this. I'm gonna open this now here. We're gonna look at it. Wow,
This actually looks amazing.
this is amazing. I love this. The rest.
Looks
The rest. Sorry, the rest.
looks like an octahedron kind of thing.
Yeah, it totally does. Can you order this somewhere? Or is this just like a piece of
Where
art?
is it?
What are you looking for?
I mean, based.
No, it's just continue up through the level. I'll tell you where it is.
That is so bad that I'm a player and you're helping a player.
Yeah, I should be banned from the stream. Who
We-
were better, Resman or Octahedron? Yeah, well, first someone actually has to do it, and I'm extremely. Just go up. I'll show you where it is. No, you've been here.
I know.
Just
I just wanted to like scan the level and realize if it's hidden. So now I know it's hidden, but no idea where.
One thing that this was actually a pretty late level added to the game. When I had decided to make more levels that don't necessarily introduce something new. Although this level does introduce something new, it introduces the plugs for the pipes. I can say that, right? Yeah, that's fine. And basically, it's a very minor gimmick, but I just wanted to wanted to have another level that is really about destroying the floor, because I think it's fun and there weren't enough in the game. And the whole thing with destroying the plugs to unlock the pipes made sense in this level.
The funny thing is, I know there's nothing here because I know when there's something hidden, it's clear to me that it's hidden. But this is what I do.
No, there is. You can see it, right? There is something hidden.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I just went there, which of course there's nothing there. But
Well, Chris, I have a tab in my tweet deck that is just Octahedron search, and I get a lot of memes that have nothing to do with the game, because Octahedron is a thing in like those surreal memes. So sometimes I want to retweet them, those, just because it's Octahedron, and sometimes they weirdly make sense because they're weird. And but I do get every Octahedron tweet in my tweet deck stream, thanks to that, thanks to searching.
by the way, we got it on record that if you take a triangle, you can just head to the finish line. You don't have
Yeah, I know, and other people. And actually, I want to say that I have a lot of respect for the people who get those really, really tough end of level triangles, like 5T.
and they want to just
5 triangle, and it was so funny to me to see, because I couldn't say anything, especially on man versus game stream, right? I can't backseat on that chat, because that's not a good idea. So he's at the end of the level and he gets a triangle, he just sits there, oh my god, collect the triangle, and he just sits there and everything's attacking him, and then you go. But of course, no, when you have a triangle attached and you go into the exit, then you get that triangle. That was very important to me, because it seems unfair that you'd have to wait, because you're safe. Once you go to the exit, you're safe.
Yeah.
And it's the same with diamonds. There is a single level in the game, I think, where you get a triangle at the very end of a level, and it's it's 2-2, where there's a virus right before the exit, and it has a triangle. It has a diamond. When you kill it, the diamond sort of can fly towards you, but you can hit the exit before it catches you, and you still get that diamond.
Yeah.
Because it would seem really cruel if you would see it would capture the screen, and you would see the diamond sort of hanging there, and you're one short. So I made sure that you be granted all those.
I love this section so much. Some people struggle with it, but I just love it.
Yeah, the multiple
the rushes,
slingshots, trampolines.
Oops.
Chris, I totally forget how you play 5T. What I do remember, and what I think is worth pointing out, is that 5T used to be a lot harder, which maybe sounds really.
It was ridiculously hard. I
Yes.
remember. I just kept dying and dying and dying.
Yes, and to the point where I made the level, and I thought, oh, the diamonds. Oh yeah, of course. Chris was looking for diamonds in that level. That was really cruel. Because it's the only regular level in the game that has no diamonds. It has no light bulbs.
Which level?
5T.
Oh yeah.
And so he didn't. He thought, well, there's a secret area like there is in 3.5, I think, that contains all the diamonds, all the light bulbs, and no, 5T does not have diamonds, and the reason for that is actually kind of funny because actually all the bonus levels originally had no diamonds. The premise was that you didn't need diamonds.
I'm an idiot.
You have so basically you already unlocked the bridge, and there's enough diamonds in the world to unlock the bridge. So I didn't think there would have to be diamonds in the bonus levels. But once I started. So both 4T and 5T, 4T was the first bonus level I made. 4T didn't have diamonds originally, no light bulbs, and 5T also didn't. And then I made I think 3T and 3 triangle, and then I realized it was a fun level, but it needed light bulbs. It was just missing light bulbs, and it was the same in 2T. Those were all among the last levels I made. And then quickly I realized that there's not really a good reason not to have light bulbs in the other levels, because it's fun even if you don't really care about collecting, because light bulbs are a really fun aspect of the game. And so I put light bulbs into 4T, which was okay. It didn't require a lot of redesigning, but 5T, it just didn't work. It just did not work. It was basically, I mean, you've played through the level, and it also made the level less fun because it's a level all about just beating it, just getting through it. It's such a brutal level. It's just such a rush. I'm like, well, maybe this is appropriate. It's the final level in the game, and so whatever. It's not gonna have It's not gonna have light bulbs. It's not gonna have diamonds, because really you're done playing the game at that point. You've played through almost everything. Yeah, the triangle at the end of 4T. At the end of this level. It's funny because, so if I'm not mistaken, Man from Man vs. Game is the only person that has found the alternate solution to this. There is another way to get this triangle, and there is a canonical way, and you're not doing it right now. Just get to the end of the level and you'll see. Did you forget? Just go to the top and then you'll see how you can. No, this is going back.
I know, but I just wanna.
There's a non-canonical way. You can get enough points and go up there, and actually don't even remember. See, now you don't have enough. But there's a way to get here and collect enough points so that you have. I actually don't even remember how you do it exactly.
Let's see.
But I discovered it myself in one playthrough, and I thought, this is fine. And the funny thing, all you have to do to figure out how to get to that final triangle is just continue through the level. But most people, they see the triangle, they're like, no, there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back until I find out how to get the triangle. But in reality, you just go up and there's a plus point at the top right, and you can just take that down all the way and get it. So if you go over now and you collect that one in the top right corner and take it down, you just have to be sure to not use it up. Yeah, that's it. That's the solution. But
I'm missing a few.
That's fine.
It's not fine. It's not fine, but just because I know I'm gonna replay this anyway when I'm back home.
Chris, you said, did you mean 5T? Didn't you have it in one of the demos? I saw you tweet the really hard level mid development. Did you mean like a harder 5T? Did I tweet about that? I actually cannot remember.
I don't remember if you tweeted about.
I don't know.
5T.
There's harder versions of many levels. There's 2, 3, 5. There's a 5T. Oh, you know what I did tweet is something like, I made a level that. Okay, I just made a level that I can't finish, or that it took me like 30 game overs to finish. I think I tweeted that without context, and maybe that's what you're referring to. I don't know.
I remember the decision to, like, do you stack grades or not? That took a lot of time to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, so now the game only ever have two platforms, the basic one and the newest one.
I just love it when you're just standing, it's a slow beam, but if you're moving, like, it's just so satisfying, so fast.
Yeah, I redesigned a lot of the mechanics in the game to work with the stacked. Originally, you could only break floors with the brick platform, with the one from World 2. You could only destroy certain things with that platform. You could only destroy those anything that would go through those little gates in the floor that were like vertical lines. You could only do it with the brick platform. And once I arrived at World 4 or 5, I started to realize that it's not fun. It's not fun to switch between 4 different platform types.
I agree.
I think some people have said that they don't mind because even in a game like Mega Man, you have like 10 different weapons or something.
I mean, with Mega Man, a lot of fans like the ability to switch weapons through the triggers.
Yeah.
And I never cared for them because it's just too many weapons. It's just.
Yeah.
It's much easier to just press start and pick the weapon that I want.
Yeah, and then it's very specific. You say, okay, I want to use this weapon here. And I realized that because obviously if you can have multiple platform types available, then you wanna make use of them. You wanna design the levels that use all the platforms, but it was just not fun. It just interrupted the flow, and so I just redesigned a lot of things. I want to say something about this section here that you're in right now.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I think you noticed that this level is different in the demo, and it's this exact section right now that you see. Basically, here, can you go back a little bit?
Yep.
Just go to the big platform again up there.
Yep.
So the reason why this is different in demo, because once you're at this point in the game, you're used to dropping down and making a platform. You hop on the trapdoor and you drop down and you make a platform. Okay, you just screwed it up, but thanks. I tried to make an explanation of how a skill player pulls
here.
Yeah, there you go. But the thing is, in the demo, I realized one thing. It is that people would only have played 3 levels before this, and they're not used to this whole idea of using the platform to save themselves a lot, like when they fall down and make a platform. So I just took off that whole. I made it so that you would just. I took away that pillar basically that blocks you from just continuing on, where you have to drop down and go back up, and I just made it a thing where the enemies would fall if you get on there. So it's much easier, and it's just for the demo because I felt like people wouldn't have been used to using the platform in unconventional ways. So, but I wanted this level to be in the demo. So.
Oops. Such an easy section. I keep messing this up.
Yeah, it's not, Chris. Yeah, it's not an old version of the level or something. It's really just for the demo. It's because that level was also in the demo that I had at EGX at events, and it was always like that. I redesigned that aspect because it felt you needed more practice to pull off that move where you fall and immediately make a platform and continue on, and people wouldn't have that in the demo. Curtis, you're right. There are still reasons to change the platform. That's why I left the basic platform in there were already several places in the game where I felt so the fungus enemies, they were one of them, because if you make a laser, if you attack them with a laser, they will just attack you back and shoot their sprouts or their Jesus, I can't think of the name, but whatever, they attack you. So I wanted you to have the basic platform. Also, there's certain times in the game where you don't want to attack or you don't want to destroy walls or floors because it makes the game more dangerous. So I always want to give the player the option to play with the basic platform. Plus, for me personally, I sometimes like the non-clutter of just using the basic platform. It just makes, especially once you have to drill at the end, it's kind of fun to just say, screw it, I'm just going to use the basic platform, and it makes it a little more contained or a little more visually simple when you just use that. Okay, I just want to say, Chris, yeah, I did see part of your rogue extra thing, and I actually did see you die in this level. I think it was on one of those enemies, those spiked rotating guys. Well, I'm really making it obvious that I have no names basically for most of the enemies. So Pixel Squid / Luca. Yeah, what was my inspiration from other video games and other media? Lots. The first thing, so the jump is Mega Man. Obviously, that's not a big inspiration. I just like the Mega Man jump. That's it, basically. Whatever, screw it.
How he looks when he moves.
Yeah, I just like that. It had a sort of dynamic energy to it, so I wanted that in the game. But Mega Man was an influence in a lot of other ways because so Mega Man actually revolutionized level design and 8-bit platformers that I think there's not enough literature, there's not enough people talking about this now. Because I studied Mega Man level design a lot.
I remember coming to you one time and you literally printed Mega Man levels on A4 and you also had them just laid them down on the ground.
Laid them out on the floor, yeah.
And one thing I loved is that I was looking at the A4 papers and you were, I remember, I think it was an Airman stage in Mega Man 2 where you just wrote, falling is fun.
Yeah.
And I think this was a big revelation for you that there are sections in Mega Man where you just like, it's a big fall, and that's satisfying.
It's satisfying. And I want to say Octahedron has a more complicated relationship with falling. I'm sure I'm going to get a strong reaction from the chat for this comment. But the thing is, yes, I laid out, like it was like it looked like the serial killer hideout sometimes because the entire floor was just covered in maps of yes. And the scribbles on it like maps of old video games.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yes, I think that's when I learned the most about level design, playing games and playing old games and then looking at the level design. One thing, I think the biggest lesson that I learned from Mega Man 1 was not even design related. It was just, it was like memory constraints because a lot of screens in Mega Man 1 throughout the level are the same. They just reuse chunks of the level because of memory constraints.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3, it's just absolutely remarkable what they did with level design, how clever the teaching the player is, and how often they would go back to the 3 and 4 step level design where they introduce a mechanic, then they add complexity to it or danger. Actually, I'm looking at what I have hung up on the wall here, and this is something that I've been staring at for the last 4 years. My conclusions from my level design studies, and it's basically you start with an introduction, which is the simplicity, and then you have increased complexity or danger. So basically, either you add more complexity to the element you introduced, or you add a dangerous element to it, and then you increase both the complexity and danger based on what you started with. Either you already introduced complexity or you already introduced danger. And that's the third step. And the fourth step is subversion, meaning that you give the player something that he thinks you make him understand a mechanic, and at the end of the level you introduce something that makes him think, I understand this, and then all of a sudden it works differently than he expected. And a lot of the time it's simpler. A lot of the time the final step of that process is you strip things away, but you sort of turn it on its head. And I think 4T has a really good example of that philosophy. And this is mostly from Mega Man, this thing where they did that a lot. There's some levels where it's just absolutely beautiful how they did that. And I think Magnet Man stage is very good with that, and for Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3. That's
Mega Man 3. Mega Man 3.
And so Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, 2, 3, even 5 and 6 are a big inspiration for the game in terms of just the level design philosophy. And apart from that, man, modern games like the modern Mario games, Mario Galaxy especially, in terms of introduction of new mechanics in every level. And I actually read a lot of design books when I started with the development of Octahedron. I read a lot of books about general game design, there's good stuff out there and definitely literature, but everything is very abstract. Everything is very it's not very specific. It feels very universal, and once you deal with universal things, then it's especially for something that is sort of old school and 2D, can get kind of hard to apply those lessons, because many of the modern game design literature is applicable to 3D games. That's just how it is. Or to like working in big teams and managing teams and game design very much in sort of a bubble, where there's a game designer very dedicated and who comes up with ideas or works with a team to implement ideas, and that wasn't what I was doing. So I often felt like those things didn't really apply to how I was working. So for me, it always felt best to just study games, just print out maps, play through games, and that way achieve my desired design goals. Is that when these platforms block lasers? Damn. What do you mean? Kung Fu, you mean... are you talking about 4T? Are you talking about... I don't know. Aesthetically, actually haven't played... I have to be honest, I haven't played much of Pac-Man CE, but I always liked the aesthetic. I always liked this, the music. I felt like a nightclub, and the walls, they're just neon lines, and that was an inspiration for the game. More so than stuff like Geometry Wars or Chef Minter, which, yeah, to a degree it was too, but for some reason Pac-Man CE is always the thing that sprung to mind.
I think you should play.
Okay. What's what? 3-3. Let me try and actually talk about this level.
Yeah.
Even though I'm just talking continuously.
Not a bad thing.
So here's the funny thing about this enemy, the frog, how many people call it, and that's fine because I'm calling it frog too, so it's totally okay because they jump like a frog. I think this is the only level in the game with 3 platforms, where you only have 3. I wanted to actually avoid 3 because it felt too close to 2, and I always wanted there to be more distinction. Either you have 2 or you have a lot. You have 5 at least. But it just made sense. 3 just made sense for this level. And actually, these guys were a lot smarter. They have so much AI code that is not used. The frogs, they could do all sorts of things. They could respond to certain things. They could avoid obstacles. They could jump from one platform to the next. They could interact in groups, and much of that, it's not like it's removed from the game, but there's just no situations where it ever was really necessary. The only place is 3T, 3 triangle, where they have some unique formations where they sort of jump in groups and looks like a ballet, sort of like they all sort of stagger and they're jumping and dancing, and there's so many different formations that they can do. There's so many ways they can interact with one another, so many group sort of like, what do you call, like those synchronized sort of dance performances. There's a lot of that they can do, but it was just never really used anywhere. I spent a lot of time sort of coming up with those choreographies for those frogs, but it's just it looked fancy, it looked fun, but gameplay wise it didn't make a lot of sense. So.
With all due respect, Chris, there is no innocent enemy in this game for me. I want to kill them all.
You feel bad for killing the frogs? Oh, that's so cute. It's just because they seem to dance, right? It's like they do their little performance and...
They're having fun. I mean, just going and killing them.
By the way, I shouldn't have done this because I wanted to do Chris's shortcut, because I think I watched part of your 90% run and you did a shortcut here that is really nice. Like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to charge this thing. You can just bypass all of it. And... yeah, I just pulled this up. And it's a fun shortcut that wasn't actually, well, it was new to me mostly because most people probably don't know that the surfing in the game, the distance that you can go with the surfing used to be a lot shorter until very late in development. You could only go a very short distance, and that was expanded pretty late on, and some levels needed redesigning. And this is one of the levels that basically where a shortcut emerged from the long surfing, because you can literally just go from here and then surf all the way, I think, to the wow, I sure screwed that up. Surf all the way to the, without ever having to charge the thing, without having to go back and forth, and but yeah, Chris definitely exploited that, which is cool, which I like. I like when people discover things that I didn't really plan for. They're just trying to perform. I think you alluded to that, but that makes a lot of sense that there's one level where that redesign meant a shortcut slipped through. Someone casually playing for the first time doesn't notice, it's not a huge issue. I remember that from the beta. Curtis, what is it that you remember? What is it that you're alluding to? So here you can go through the whole middle section here just by walking through. I think a lot of people would just take it one step at a time, one frog at a time. Or there's even some people who go through this section and they kill the frogs, like when they get right past them on the bottom part of the section, which I always thought was funny because you can just go up here and then just kill them mostly all in one go. Okay, I'm gonna get this other triangle. I'm gonna go down and you can now surf the distance of what used to be. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Curtis played a lot of older versions of the game, and especially, I mean, EGX 2014. The game was very hard. There was no hearts. It was just a one-hit kill game. It was for a very long time until I think early 2016 or mid 2016. It was a one-hit kill game where you would die in one hit, and that's hard mode. Hard mode that is now in the game. That is how the game used to be.
That's how it was designed.
It was designed with that in mind until about halfway through. No, that's not true. But I want to say I had about 60 or 70% of the levels done, and then it became clear to me that it was difficult to increase the difficulty balance of the game. Like I would just go up and it would get so hard, and I realized it was getting too hard. So instead of making the game harder, I decided to just lower the entire thing, and just so at the beginning it would be much easier with 3 hearts and 4 lives. But then I put in a game over. A game over was not in the game originally. Like a game over in the sense that you could lose all the lives and then restart the level. But once I added hearts and no one-hit kills where you could just go back a short distance, or you just have damage boost or something, it felt like it made sense to limit the amount of tries that you had on a level, and where you had explodes and then you have to restart. Yeah, I figured the surfing distance really threw you, but to be completely honest, it was one of the biggest differences in how I think people responded to the game. Once the surf was expanded, made much more powerful, I think we got a lot more positive feedback. It really changed how the game was perceived. Damage boosts are cool. I completely agree with that. Nothing wrong with that. I want to say something about this level. So this is 3-4. So here's a funny thing. The way the camera behaves in the game was changed dramatically at around where I was in development. This was the first level that made use of the new camera system in the game, because it used to be a fairly it used to be a camera system that was completely manual almost, where I didn't place a lot of camera objects in the game that would force the camera to stay on a certain screen, or that would make this camera not move. But I realized at one point that I wanted more control over the camera. I wanted to really be able to focus the player to look at one section. This is the section that you're playing right now. So I want you to pay attention to this puzzle. I want you to pay attention to this section. And this is the first level that I designed once I had the new camera, because it moves from screen to screen. It's a level that is basically...
Every screen is a puzzle.
Every screen is a repetition of the same sort of blocks. Like, it's the same layout, but using different elements in the game. Using different blocks, using different enemies. But it's always the same. You start in the bottom left corner. You go through these things. You can bypass some of them. You avoid some enemies. And then you go into the next pipe. You go to the next screen. And it's very similar how everything...
Subversion of ideas all the time.
Yes. And I made this level because I wanted to test this new camera, where you had this very restrictive view into one screen of the game. Whereas before I introduced this camera, the camera would just constantly follow you. just wherever you were, and so you would see parts of the screen maybe that didn't have anything to do with what you were in, and the funny thing that happened, I went back and redesigned a lot of levels around this hand-placed camera, and now almost all levels have dozens of camera objects in them that focus you on very specific places that you're in a level. There's a lot of manually placed camera objects in the game, so that the player always knows exactly what to look at. And here's the funny thing that happened with playtesters. I basically I hadn't changed many of the levels, but suddenly the feedback I was getting, oh, the level design is so much better. You really improved the level design, but I didn't change anything about the levels. All I did was I focused the camera on a section. You would be in one section and look at one puzzle, and
it feels better.
It feels better. It felt like all of a sudden the game had gained focus. All of a sudden it felt very focused. Like, okay, you really understand what the level is about because it focuses on one screen. It focuses, or you can't push past a certain aspect of, or a certain part of the level because the game wants you to focus on this area of the screen. And all of a sudden the feedback I was getting, oh wow, you really improved the level design, but all I did was change the camera. And this taught me a lot about how camera...
It's perception, how people perceive levels, how they perceive mechanics. And
guided cameras really make a lot of difference in how people perceive a level. I had for a long time I toyed with a more AI-driven camera that understands the level or that has focus areas. But once I started placing the cameras manually, like this is how far the player can go.
Actual direction.
Yeah, actual direction. Once I started directing the camera, and every level has that now, very directed cameras, it just fell into place and I realized, wow, this is so much better. This is really exactly what the game should be. It should be very directed. Yeah, it's funny. The puzzle, this isn't really much of a puzzle. It's just, it screws people over because they go into this level like this, right? They go into the screen like this. They start, this is how you start the screen, and you're like, okay, let's just charge the first thing. There you go. Yeah, this makes sense. Let's go up here. And... oops. Yeah, I can't do anything. So we can't do this, so let's destroy this again. And then they're like, maybe we need to charge this. And then they realize, yeah, but this is not... I can't get up there now, so let's charge this again. And then they will go past this, and then they go up like this, and they realize, oh, I'm destroying this, and this has to do a lot with the platform switching. And honestly, it isn't much of a puzzle. It's just, I'm just trolling the player into activating whatever he sees first. Yeah. He sees something, and then he decides, okay, we should probably charge this because it's here, so it makes sense to charge it, which kind of screws you over. But if you just charge the red one, then the yellow one, you're golden. That's it, and just destroy this, and then you can just move on. But yeah, a lot of people struggle with this section. It's kind of funny to see sometimes. We're gonna get this triangle. And the truth is, if you're good at surfing and making platforms, you really don't have to use a lot of these. You can just bypass most of them. You don't have to. You just surf to the triangle and screw this up and then. Yeah, most of the time, if you know what's happening, you don't need to change platforms. That is true. And if you suck at your own game, then you definitely do need to make more platforms that are needed. It's a challenge. How do these Twitch streamers do this? Focusing, trying to read the chat.
Seriously.
Trying to talk and everything.
I mean, I'm not playing and it's difficult for me to catch up with you.
I know. Diamonds inside enemies. I want to say something about the last screen, which was intended to be a subversion, but I think it only worked on a single player that I've ever seen. So after this screen, so this is the final screen on this level. And for some reason I thought, oh, this is terribly clever. Because I thought, you're so used to going through these screens and wanting to go up here, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you can't do this. And it only really worked on a single player who was stuck here and he was sitting here and like, what is going on? Why can't I get up there? And everyone else was like, oh yeah, right, I have to do this right away. They knew this is what I had to do. And I was a little disappointed that this didn't screw with more people, but oh well, I tried. It should also teach about how to interpret feedback. Yes, that's true. That's true. We have, well, you pick whichever one you want to do.
Let's see.
Lapras. Yep.
I always remember the Pokemon Lapras, which I know you don't know what
is that?
Pokemon.
I don't understand
Lapras.
Pokemon, no. I don't understand the evolutions. I don't understand jokes about Pokemon. Whenever there's a joke somewhere about Pokemon, I don't get it. Muhammad made a joke tweet about a Pokemon, and it got like thousands of retweets.
Which is insane.
And he asked me why I didn't retweet it or why I didn't like it. I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand Pokemon. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, this level, it's also one of the earliest levels that I made.
This is one of my favorite levels too. Just because it just complete total freedom. I like it going from 2 platforms, 5 platforms to just so many. And it's so much fun. You shouldn't be yawning while you're streaming.
I'm really sorry. I'm extremely sorry. We've already been doing this for 2 hours, so I'm allowed to yawn, okay?
I lost 2.
I feel so bad too, but the whole Pokemon thing, by the way, whenever I meet gamers in my real life, most of my friends do not play video games, and so whenever I meet someone new and they play video games, it's always fun to like connect over that. But one of the first things that they always ask me, "What's your favorite Pokemon?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm really sorry." And even the casual players, like, "Oh yeah, I don't really care much about video games, but I love Pokemon," and I'm like,
"Okay."
I'm sorry, I cannot relate. Yeah, anyway, this level. So this level was also hand sketched first. I drew it in my notebook because it seemed like the whole idea of having lots of platforms and having a level where there's very few platforms to stand on that are safe, it just made sense to me in a game like this. And I wanted a sequel to this level, which is the last level in the game, in the regular world, right? This is Lapras, and that one is Malabris, which is essentially a retooling of this stage. Much more complex, has a lot more enemies and a lot more things in it. But I took this stage as a template, and I decided to implement a lot of the mechanics that had been introduced.
I love that all the flowers are just in this section.
Yeah, I know.
It's just so nice.
It's just sneaky diamonds, exactly. And actually in Malabris in 5. Jesus, I don't even remember how many levels there are in World 5. Okay, 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, 5. No, it is 5. 5-5, which is another take on this level, because I know that people love this level. People responded to this level really strongly, so I wanted to finish the game. I just wanted to have the sort of last level in the regular world be a take on this one, because it's the only other level that has 50, where you have 50 platforms, and people loved it, so I wanted to just do another take on it. Much more fun with hearts. Had to do it with One Life in the beta. Yeah, I know, Curtis, I know. In the beta it was, you would die and inevitably you would get hit and you would have to restart.
No.
This is Paradox, which is one of my favorite levels in the game. It's also one of the last levels I made. It's one of the final levels I made. The only level I made after this is 5-4? 5-4. Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry. I see these frogs and my first instinct is they're disrupting my thinking and I want to kill them, and then I want to think about the level.
I have absolutely no law for them. I don't care. I want to kill them. Even if they don't explicitly attack you, please get that triangle in the bottom right corner. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Yeah, no. F the frogs.
Yep.
I need to censor my language.
You should.
They're not... they're in my way. Right?
Yeah.
That's reason enough to kill them.
Yeah. A good way to live your life.
So this is one of the patterns that I had wanted to see. This little frog pattern. Okay, I understand they're adorable, right? This little the way they move back and forth with the beat, and they all sort of jump. It's cute, but still they have to go.
They have to go. I'm sorry. It's the law.
It's the law.
I don't make the rules. I don't make the law.
What I like about this level, the beam platforms, the beam blocks are so fun because there's so many different ways in which they can interact with other things in the game. There's so many ways to block them. There's so many ways to make them, stuff like this. And those vortexes, those beam vortexes as I call them.
I love them so much.
They only really appear prominently in one level, and they are more of a side thing in another one. So I wanted to have another level where they sort of play a major role. And I realized they're perfect to combine with the beams. The beam, using the beam blocks with the lasers. Yeah, here's the fun thing about this level. You can play this level before you were ever introduced to the beams, like before you're ever canonically introduced to the beams, which is in 3.9, sorry. And so, but one thing you'll notice is that the beams don't move. They're all static. All the beams in this level just, they point in one direction and they get interrupted by other platforms. That's the whole premise of this.
Yeah.
You have beams and they're interrupted by other things in the level, by the switch blocks as I call them, by the vortex blocks. That's basically it. I wanted to go into this huge epic thing about how many ways you block the areas. It's only two things. No, if you drop down here, there's the charge thingies.
Ooh.
Yeah, this counts, right?
Forgot about this.
Oh, beautiful. I
Well,
see that.
got me right back up,
Yeah.
so that's good, I guess.
Yeah, this was a speedrunning trick that you take note, Chris.
Oh, what did I do?
Oh, actually, yeah, you can't. No, you could do this. You could, but you need to block it again. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I have to be... Yep.
Death warp hype. Yeah, it's true. And this is probably my favorite part in the level, where you push the beam up sort of twice in order to get past it.
And it subverts with I mean, I said the word subverts 1,000 times now.
Yes, you have.
But to me, this is what Octahedron is about. Just introducing things and just breaking them apart. And I just love that.
And you have to also understand that actually this level took me maybe 2 or 3 days to finish, which sounds insane because
I mean, levels used to take you weeks
Yeah.
to finish at the beginning.
I want to say 2-1. 2-1 which is an early level that I did, introducing the mechanics of World 2. I don't even want to tell you, probably almost a month to finish that level. It's a complicated maze-like level too, but this level, it didn't even take me a week, and it was just fun all the way through. And finishing levels early on in development was just pain. It was just pain and suffering. It was just so much of a struggle. Because understanding my own game, understanding what the game is about, was really, really rough. And I would go back a lot and change levels. But by the end of development, it was just like, oh, let's make a new level. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And at one point, the game got delayed by 2 months. It was originally going to be released in January. And I made a new level, and that's 2.4. 2.4 I made when the game got delayed for various reasons. And it's just fun. I know it's one of the hardest levels in the game, but it's just fun to make levels. I would just look forward to it. I would think, amazing, I got an opportunity to make another level. And when I had just started out development, it was like, oh my god, I'm starting on the next level. I'm dreading it. I'm dreading making another level.
I remember actually one time, I mean, I see Marco making all these levels, and I think it's kind of like, you know, when you see writers writing for a website or something, and you think, I can't do that. I can write. I have a keyboard.
Yeah.
And then Marco one day, he actually let me try and design a level, and he I know all the tools, I know everything, but I just kept staring at a blank level.
Yeah.
Starting just, you know, from the lower left corner, and just thinking, I don't know what to do. And then he told me, like, put something, like put a platform, put anything, and I just kept thinking, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make a level. And then you realize how really difficult it is to make a level, even if the tools are easy. It's just, how do you make something fun?
Yeah, that's true. I encourage you to take an element that you like about the game and just put it in the game and see what happens, basically. But it's true, when you start from scratch and you don't... This was me at the beginning.
Yeah. Oops. Move too early.
I think we're talking too much, by the way.
I think people want us to talk too much. It's fine.
Maybe we should just go with the flow and let the...
Nah.
We should just see how...
So I have everything so far, that's good.
You do. I love this triangle at the end. Took me a while to come up with a way where every platform you make will be dangerous, because you go through this level and there's sections where you make one platform and the laser will just destroy you. The Switch platforms made a lot of... The idea was first actually having sections where you make a platform and the beams would kill you. And I realized the Switch platforms would be really good for that, because if there's a lot of Switch platforms that are blocking beams and you're inside that environment and you make a platform, it'll switch them and the beams will immediately destroy you.
So...
Yeah. I love this. I love this so much. It looks a little messy, but actually there's a lot of thought behind it. And I'm actually surprised, because most people who played this section cleared it on their second try, or even on their first try. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Do you use graph paper?
Do you use graph paper or other resources for planning your levels? I'm full disclosure, 2 or 3 levels I designed with graph paper. I designed actually sitting down and because they were ideas that I really thought, oh, it would be cool to have a level like this or that. But the reality is most levels came from mechanics. They came from, let's see what we can do with this mechanic and where it takes us. And can we, no, please don't get this. No, don't get this upgrade. It just makes everything so easy.
That's why I like it.
You like easy mode?
Well, not easy mode. I like to feel rewarded, and this makes it feel really...
It makes it feel like you did this for a reason. You did the bonus level for a reason.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite moment, when people don't realize what upgrade, I love this moment, people, what upgrade did this give me? And I considered adding a text to surf upgrade or max surf distance. But they're like, what did I just get? And they're like, let's just exit the level. And they get on that platform and then they go all the way through. And once they get close to the exit, they're like, oh, wait a second. How can I surf so long? And they're like, oh, nice. This was another one of those things where it made sense to just remove the text of what the upgrade does, because you see it. You can't exit the level without using the upgrade. So.
Yeah.
What was I actually talking about before?
About the only text you should add mid-game should be here. He's talking about the upgrade.
No, I actually was answering. I remember I was answering the question about graph paper. Sorry. I did that for just. I did that for just a few levels, because everything else came from mechanics. It was basically... I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but forward design. There's forward and backward design, and I think Jonathan Blow has talked about this. There's another developer, which I forgot right now, who talked a lot about the difference between forward and backward design. And I want to say, usually design in the games industry is very often centered around backward design versus forward design, and sometimes it's a mix, which is fine too, which can work perfectly okay. So forward design is this. Forward design is you have mechanics and you experiment with those mechanics. It's basically a trial and error process of finding out what do these mechanics do and how do they make the player interact with the game as it exists. What happens if I put those mechanics with other core ideas in the game, if I put them together? How do they interact with one another, or how should they interact with one another is the other thing. You put them in a level and you see, okay, it would be interesting if this beam could be blocked by this thing because it would make sense. And then you start designing your levels or your world around that, and then once you have that, you sort of craft an aesthetic around it, you craft a theme around it. But it's a bunch of trial and error to find out how does your design fit into the existing core of the game or the core mechanic, like making platforms. you have an enemy that does X. How does that fit with the rest of the game? Or why is this enemy in the game? And if it doesn't have any relevance to the core mechanic of your game, then maybe it shouldn't be in the game. And then you experiment that. It's a lot of trial and error. But that's Octahedron is. It's just forward design. You just figure out what is the core design of the game, how do other things fit into that, and all levels were just arrived by trial and error with new mechanics, or how could an existing mechanic be combined with other ideas. And backward design is something else. Backward design would be the extreme of backward design would be I want to have a lava level, or let's have a level with a swamp, or a level with an ice level. Is it relevant to your game or not? Doesn't matter. Games have ice levels, so let's make an ice level, right? And then once you have that, you figure out, oh, an ice level needs to have penguins in it, or it needs to have you need to freeze things. Does it matter? Like, does it have anything to do with the core mechanic of your game? Doesn't matter. We have an ice level, so we need to put that in.
Yeah.
So it's aesthetic concerns, which sometimes can be very relevant depending on the kind of game you're making, but it can be aesthetic concerns, but sometimes you can end up with shoehorning ideas into a game where it makes no sense. Like, why am I making an ice level? Just because it looks cool, or because I like penguins, or why am I coming up with penguins? That's the only thing for that. Can you help me out here? Give me a better example.
No, I get that.
But basically that's...
Sometimes things come naturally.
Yeah. And I actually don't... I think it's fine to go with a mix of backward and forward design, but for Octahedron it just didn't make any sense. It's a very abstract world. It's about level design and game and gameplay first, so forward design just made sense, even though it's a lot of trial and error, but it just made sense. Penguins, yes, actually, I mean, there's frogs in it, there's beetles in it, why not penguins? Okay, I missed a lot of the chat. Only text you should add make game should be here, where it says, wow, you casual if you collected. Yeah, I'm not really into trolling the players with too much obnoxious stuff, even though there is some stuff like that in the game. You asked a lot of music questions, Kung Fu, did you? Oh, did you always have a specific genre of music in mind, or have you tried other genres? Well, when I started the game and the prototypes of the game, the idea of dance music was never, and of rhythm aspect, it was never at the forefront. I didn't even know if I was going to do the aesthetics of the game myself, if I was going to do, basically, if I was going to make the art myself, if I was going to make the music myself. I didn't know that. But once the Octahedron was in the game, which was really early on, like the Octahedron was in the first prototype. I still can't explain that. I still can't really tell you why the Octahedron is an Octahedron. The head is an Octahedron. That's just what it was. I fell in love with the mysterious aspect of it. Why is it that way? So what I did do is I made the levels dark and I made the Octahedron glow, and then all of a sudden I had this disco thing going on with the light that illuminated part of the level, right? And then I thought maybe the whole disco aesthetic should be more part of the game, and this is the direction I should go in. The neon thing, the psychedelic thing. And once that sort of started to fall into place, I also realized, well, I've been making dance music my whole life. I've been making trance and house and techno and all of that stuff, and I'm like, well, maybe this is what the game should be. Maybe that's the kind of music it should have, and maybe then I can make the music myself, which I was going to do at one point. At one point I was going to make the whole soundtrack myself, but had to give up on that idea because it was just too intense. Just the rest of the development was so dear to me, the level design, everything. I didn't want to give up any of that, and so I just started collaborating with people for the rest of the soundtrack. But once I had music that was sort of BPM driven, it was really dancey, the idea started to occur to me to implement rhythm elements, because I didn't like rhythm games. Well, I like some rhythm games, but they always feel so restrictive, because all you do is in a rhythm game is you just the levels are usually very automated. They're very because it's so important that the player responds to the rhythm and to the music of the game. Everything else has to be automated. The player runs. The tracks play out automatically because the entire level is built around one track, one specific track, and that felt really restrictive to me. So I wanted to have rhythm elements in a game where they're just there. They just exist, and if you pay attention to them, you can get through certain sections easier if you get into the flow of things. But I didn't want it to be like, okay, the whole level is auto-scrolling now, and you have to follow this, and if you screw up, you start the level over. I didn't want that, so that's why it's a rhythm light sort of thing. It's not. I feel uncomfortable calling the game a rhythm game because it's really not. It just has rhythm elements. The platform style and black background reminded me of Bubble Bobble. I've heard the Bubble Bobble thing by other people, and Rainbow Island too. I think because of the platforms, right? Yeah, I can see that. I like the stark black background. It just, again, it felt like. Oh, the other thing about the black background, by the way, was inspired by old arcade games, which usually have black backgrounds, and like old shmups. That were like Galaga, stuff like that, where the background is just by default, the background is black, and then everything that happens in front of it's usually because it's space, but also because it's just you don't draw anything, so it's black, right? And that aesthetic I sort of really like. That really appealed to me. And that was part of the reason why I guess the background sort of stayed mostly black, and then everything sort of illuminates the level. The vinyl, yeah. Yeah, we really gotta move on that vinyl, but we will make a vinyl, and it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be cool. We're probably gonna have some new art for that, and still gonna have to figure out how to get the 2.5 hours of music onto into a package that people actually want to pay for, but we'll see how we do that. Bubble Bobble developed into Rainbow Islands, which was about creating platforms. Yeah, exactly. That kill enemies, and Square Enix published this, so I totally assumed that was intentional. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Square Enix came on board very late here. I met them at Rest a year ago. I saw some publications say that they had a hand in development, which no, I'm super happy with what they did for the game and how much they helped. Without them, I could never released it on several platforms at once. But development was almost finished when they joined. The levels were mostly done, and it was more of a pure publishing and marketing thing. And a pure coincidence that it was Square Enix anyway. It does mean you didn't need varying designs of platforms backgrounds, so it works out in terms of efficiency. Yeah, of course. Yeah, aesthetically, yes. A CD release. If we're doing vinyl, we're doing CD. Yeah, for sure. It's a Brave Wave thing. We usually do that. We usually do, well, normally we do digital and CD, and wow, I'm screwing up my own level designs here. Yeah, usually we do digital and CD and vinyl. I think a bunch of people found the short, or I think Chris, you found it, but I saw someone else that realized they could farm points here basically by doing this a couple of times over, waiting for the enemies to respawn, and that is totally accurate. In terms of speedrunning, well, I sure messed that up. In terms of speedrunning, I'm not sure that it really makes a lot of sense. Like, do you save time? Probably not. But you can do this. Just do it a bunch. Did you notice? You could do. Chris did a sort of a version of this where he just
new to me.
Yeah, I know. Now you can sort of, but it's such a waste of time if you're a speedrunner because it takes quite a while to farm the platforms. See, but now I can just say, screw all of this. I'm just gonna. But you also have to ignore the triangles, of course. So, whatever. See, like I still have 3 platforms right now.
Were you guys talking about Brave Wave?
We were talking about the vinyl release because Dean mentioned that. We're probably gonna stream until 9. I think that's 3 hours, right? Actually, we do have permission to go a little over.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let me go into 3 hours. We'll see. We'll see once we fall. Once we die.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop.
So the reason that I like to do CDs is that, to me, vinyl is its own thing, because with vinyl, like with a CD, you can't buy a CD. Like sometimes, for example, with Art of Fighting, I think we couldn't have it on Spotify and iTunes because they already had it there. But it's not so bad just because, yeah, you can't buy the digital Art of Fighting, but if you get the CD, you can basically have your own digital copy. Whereas with vinyl, it's just its own thing, and I love vinyl. I don't really listen to. That's fine. I don't really listen to vinyl. I have an audio player from Sony I recently got, and I just listen to it. I'm trying to get into kind of like a curated listening experience, which is similar to vinyl.
And also one thing I want to say about Brave Wave is if you just buy the vinyl or just the CD, you get a digital copy with it too. You always get a code to also download the.
That is very important, because actually before I got this audio player in Japan, which was a gift from a gracious Brave Wave fan, I just had all albums like as MP3s on my iPhone, and then I get this audio player that has a balanced output and tons of other things that can play FLAC files. So I thought, well, let me put everything on FLAC, and I can just go to my Bandcamp profile and I can just download everything again as FLAC files. So I like it. I like it when we provide digital releases. You wanted to say something?
No, I just was looking at this no sub or donate button. Like, are you talking about the stream right now? We're dumb at Twitch. We don't understand any of this. We're doing this for the first time. As you can see, my channel is very meticulously curated. There's a schedule for the next stream. There's a beautiful banner at the top. There's links. What I mean by that, there's none of that. So I don't really know what I'm doing. We're literally just streaming. I just made this a few days ago, and we're really bad at this. We should have put links like in. Please buy the game. Go to Steam store.steampower.com. Just search for Octahedron. It's a great game. It's the one we're playing right now, by the way. Please buy.
Hello, Nefjan. By the way, Nefjan is my friend Yusuf, who used to run the World 1-2 blog with me before it turned into an album, turned into Brave Wave. So it's good to see him here.
Oh, okay, cool. Good to see some new people in the chat. Oh, thanks so much, Kung Fu, for linking to the game we're playing that I made, that I'm supposed to be promoting on the stream. I'm extremely bad at. You probably noticed, people who have played the game probably noticed the amount of out-of-bounds secrets that sort of appear later in the game, and that's just my love for speedrunning, because I like out-of-bound glitches and that sort of thing. So I always liked having secrets that sort of break the level, or you just go outside of the level and that sort of thing. So that's why there's many of those in the game.
What is a Twitch whale? Is it someone who just subscribes to all their favorite?
I don't even know how you make that status, like where it says so and so does this, like Demimon Marco is or like Hogs Blah or does this and that. I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to do it. Yeah.
And someone told me on a chat once, you just have to put / something.
And I remember I told you should try it, and then
I'm like, I was scared because there were a lot of people in the chat. I'm like, if I try it and I screw it up, like the status thing, yeah, exactly, / whatever.
Yeah.
And like, someone explain how to do this, and if I screw it up and I do like / something, and then actually,
that's something
it's
else.
not gonna work, and it's gonna show what I tried to do, like / something. Everyone's gonna laugh at me, so I'm not even gonna attempt it. Can you please try to get the triangle at the bottom? I want to say something. This triangle at the bottom here, where you have to go down to get it, exists thanks to Muhammad. You remember this?
No.
Because it didn't used to be here, and you were like, I can probably go down here. There was a hole, but you just died.
Oh.
Yeah, you played this level, and
because I told you I thought it would lead somewhere.
It will lead to a secret, and I'm like, you know what? This is a good place for a secret. And then I redesigned the level and put a secret down there.
Yeah. Okay, so whales are people who drop huge donations on streamers. That makes sense.
Oh my god, why don't we have this? Why don't we have a...
We're bad at making money.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, Chris, food, that's a good idea. We should probably eat some food at some point. Well, after the stream.
And we have chicoria downstairs, which all I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, we're gonna have fried chicken after this. Okay, so the beams, they were in the game for a long time before I didn't know where to introduce them for quite a while, because they're pretty threatening and they were pretty dangerous. So I ended up not putting them in World 3, and actually many of the enemies that you see in later worlds were really early designs, like the big balloon bully in World 5, the guy that is basically an evolution of the World 1 and balloon enemy. It was like the second enemy I designed. I designed on paper. I didn't really implement it in the game, but he was so threatening, and he seemed like a subversion of the very first enemy that you encounter in the game, that I thought it would make sense to bring him on in the very last world of the game, because he's a take on the very first enemy that you experience, so he doesn't come until 5.1. I don't know who he's talking to. He's telling someone that he's a vegetarian now.
Speaking of food, here's where we're Colo is...
That's you?
Colo, my colorization used to be my nickname.
How do I not know that people call you Colo?
I have no idea.
I think this is extremely... I'm a little bit offended.
That you don't know this about me?
I've never heard this nickname.
Yeah.
In the 5 years that we've known each other, you never told me about this.
I know. There are some secrets about it that no one knows. I actually have a secret life.
What is the one that I know every facet of your life? There is absolutely no secret, except for Colo apparently. What's the other one? Your Xbox handle the other day. What was it?
Dada Capo.
Dada Capo. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Why is this your Xbox handle? And it's because of some Ace of Base album, right?
I like Ace of Base. Super.
Yeah, he wanted to. That's what he tried to hide. That's the secret in his life. He likes Ace of Base, so.
Huh?
Who's this?
This Arabic is my brother, my youngest brother.
This is your brother?
Yep.
Hello, Mo's brother. I don't know his name.
Ahmed.
Ahmed, okay.
Ahmed.
Cool, thanks for joining. I don't speak Arabic, I'm sorry. So Jamal has to address these.
Yeah.
Your other handle is Tribe. Is that true, or are you trolling us right now?
My other handle is Tribe. No, he actually... I read that on his Twitch profile.
Oh, okay. I've had so many handles, and I still do use a lot of them, so... Yeah. I was, for the longest time, which a lot of people don't know, I was, back in the day, was really active on NeoGAF, and my handle there was Charash, and I still use that handle in some places.
Charash Barksdale.
Charash, yeah.
What does it mean? Don't remember.
Nothing. Charash is just a weird corruption of a cartoon I liked when I was a kid. And Barksdale is from The Wire. A1 Barksdale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Season 2 now.
Did you develop the mechanics playing the game on a keyboard or with a controller? I have tremendous respect for people who play platformers, but but I can't. I can't do it. I have no idea how people do it. You can play the game with a keyboard, but it beats me how people do it. Yeah. Volgar is one of my favorite platforms for the last few years. It's brutally difficult. I don't know, Volgar the Viking, if you guys have played that, but the guy who holds the world record, or at least who used to hold the world record for a very long time in Volgar, is a keyboard player. And it blows my mind every time when I hear about that, because I have no idea. I don't know how you can play a platformer with a keyboard, but huge respect. And actually, one of the big reasons why you can customize the controls in Octahedron, this is not a joke, is because I had no idea how people play platformers with keyboards. So I just it's pretty much random, the default configuration for keyboard controls, but you can change them however you want, because I don't know how people play.
I forgot about this. I love how this laser just charges this up.
Yeah, there was actually a lot more of that in the game at one point, the laser charging the chargers, but it felt kind of redundant. So Yeah, Volgar is pretty rad. I agree, but it's in my opinion, if you want to get the full ending of Volgar, it's so much more brutal than Octahedron, because in Octahedron there's no point in the game where you lose as much progress as you lose in Volgar if you die in certain levels. It's just absolutely vicious how much progress you can lose in Volgar and how much this game demands of you. But I love it. I mean. Oh really? You play it with the keyboard? I don't know how you with a laptop keyboard, no less. Jesus Christ! And one of my other one of the few platformers that I've played during the development of Octahedron, because I avoided most platformers because I didn't want to get sort of influenced by other mechanics. And
we just got the worst reply to the stream from Yusuf Nafjan.
Oh my god! Can I ban him? How do we ban people?
Yeah.
But what I do like is that you said, you know what, to you know what, because I have an auto ban on Switch. Whenever someone mentions Switch, they're getting auto ban. No, this is not true. I don't even know if that's possible, having like auto ban on certain words. But yeah, it might be on Switch someday, but I don't know.
We're I want to say we're working on that.
Yeah. You especially. I'm gonna leave the porting to you.
Yeah. So people just direct all their port begging to me.
Let me play this because 4-1 is one of my favorite levels in the game. Volgar, Volgar is brutal, and I loved it for that. I really do. It's a very different kind of platforms. Look like Wiimotes. Let me see. They're rectangular and they're a little round. They're rounded and they're rectangular, so I guess they look like Wiimotes.
I love this platform. It's just destruction.
Yeah. The drill platform went through a lot of iterations, by the way. A lot. And separate fingers on jumping platform, which reminded me of arcade platforms instead of console ones. Separate fingers on jumping platform. Yeah, see, I use A and X. I used to...
Me too.
Because I rock, right? I rock my thumb. And some people just, they go back and forth. And for those people, I have the shoulder trigger for that. But really, you can customize it anyway. So there's one review that said using A and X is super uncomfortable and it kind of ruins the game or the control of the game. And I'm like, well, you can customize the controls. You could do something about that. I understand for some people the whole rocking thumb motion is not comfortable. But that's why there's two buttons from the beginning that you can use for that. I want to see how you get that 4-2 triangle. Oh yeah, 4-2. Oh yeah, sure, not a problem. We can do that. The platforms look like Wiimotes. Would be funny way to announce it in the trailer. Yeah, but really, Wiimotes. The Joy-Cons are not Wiimotes. I'm sorry, Kung Fu. Come on. And like, what are you talking about here? This makes no sense.
You want bagels? They're open until 11.
You want to go?
We'll
no,
see.
I want chicken. We're gonna get chicken.
Chicoria?
Shouldn't be talking about food on the stream. I don't know if Square Enix condones that we talk about.
I'm just thinking. I mean, I've been thinking
Brands.
about food ever since we started.
We mentioned Chicoria, which is a store, which is a place that sells chicken. We should not endorse. Can we bleep that? Like on the archive?
Yeah.
Can we mention other publishers?
We talked about Mega Man so much.
We talked about Nintendo. Nintendo's fine though. Capcom. Now we're just name dropping. People eat on streams all the time. By the way, see, we don't know anything. We're not really sure. The great thing is we're two people, so we could literally stream for like 6 hours, and one of us could just go out and go on food runs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bees. I want to mention the bees because I love the bees, and everyone hates the bees, or well, maybe people love them, but
I don't like them.
In real life, I love honey, but I hate bees.
Oh, I love honey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really.
This is getting more and more off topic.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do.
I hate coming here in the summer because there's always those wasps.
Yeah.
And they're so annoying.
Cursed Castilia eggs. Yeah. If you were already fond of Volgar, yeah. I don't think I played that. I should definitely try that. And I should try the House Market games because people keep mentioning them and I haven't played them. And they probably would appeal to me. The next one, the one in the next level, 4-2 is the triangle that we need to. By the way, if you struggle with this, section and you haven't activated the beast, just wait until the second block, the one that I'm waiting for now, is at the very bottom, and now destroy this thing, and then you skip a huge part of the timer.
Yeah.
Because the beast, spoiler, many people have wondered how did the beast break out.
The screen shakes?
Anything that causes screen shake, which is killing enemies, destroying anything basically. If you destroy light bulbs, no. But if you kill enemies or if you destroy the chains or make any of those blocks fall, then the beast will break out.
I think that's it. You're safe. You can go down.
Yeah, I'm reading the stream, so
yeah.
I missed the triangle. To my shame, I have to admit that.
That's fine.
One finger on the button makes it harder to hold and initiate both lengths independently. Yeah, but see, that's not a problem for me with the one finger on the buttons. I like to play like because it's like running in Mario. I don't even think about it, and for me, it's no strain on my hands or anything of the sort. It just feels natural to me to rock back my thumb, to rock it back and forth, and so. This enemy was obviously designed, by the way, for the drill platform. Like many of the enemies in this world were designed to be killed from the side, and specifically more difficult to kill with the beam because I'm introducing the drill in this world, which by the way used to be, so the drill looks like this now. The very, very early on, the drill was projectiles. It was just tiny little projectiles that would shoot out of the side of your platforms.
Oh, I remember.
And they would go through...
I can see it right there.
Yeah, they would go through solids, they would go through everything, but honestly, they didn't feel satisfying. I couldn't figure out good mechanics. They were so tiny. And then at one point, there were two just long sort of screws coming out at 90-degree... and 45-degree angles out of the sides of your platform, and they worked, but they were a little messy. And eventually, I settled on this drill. Actually, I had finished all of the World 4 levels before I redesigned the drill. Redesigned the drill platform, and then went back and had to redo quite a few of the levels because the way the drill worked. Didn't really make sense anymore.
The curse plants.
The curse plants. So, Curtis, did you mean this triangle, this one right here, or did you mean the triangle after this? And by the way, the fact that Chris isn't here is a shame because there's an exploit sort of. Whenever you make a platform in the game, you sort of get this little bump, right? So. You get a little bit of an extra bump, and that bump you still get it even if your platform gets eaten. And if I'm not mistaken, you can, you can't do it here, I think. But there's another part in the level where if you really quickly mash, you can sort of get higher, as you can see. And then you can go somewhere. You can use that to sort of get higher. You can't do it here, evidently, but there's another part in the level I think where you can sort of abuse this little boost that you get. Either way, I'm going to show how to get all the triangles, then you'll see which ones you're...
Yeah, guys, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Feels good.
I knew that because the boost was designed from the beginning, and I didn't cancel. I cancel a lot of things with this platform that the platform does. It actually doesn't even spawn. Even though you see it get eaten. This is not the platform. And the platform does not even spawn when a plant is nearby. When a plant the game determines first, can the plant get your platform with its line of sight right now? And if it can, your platform doesn't even spawn. However, the code for the little boost that you get still runs, which is completely intentional, because otherwise also the physics would feel different. The purple one near the top of the level. Yeah, sure, not a problem. This one I just got.
By the way, can I say the cursed word? Subversion.
Subversion?
This section just is a beautiful subversion of the game because it's a small section where you can't use your platform. Like you just have to jump.
Yeah.
Just have to jump and just maneuver. I like that.
The little platforms, yeah, they're cute, right? I mean, these little ones, I think. The only problem is they still make the sound effects of the massive block falling, so it's maybe a little strange. So this is what I was talking about earlier, basically, that you have this subversion, whereas you suddenly can't make platforms anymore. In a lot of puzzle games, this appears very early on. Like you have, well, sure, screwed that up. You have something that disrupts the core mechanic. You can't do it. Like you can, you have a certain power, and I want to say the second level in the game or a really early section immediately disrupts that power. Oh, you can't do it now. And you know, I always hated that because that's my power, and you're taking it away right away early on in the game. Yeah. That's why this comes pretty late. The plant. No, Jesus Christ! I should not. I should really try to actually focus on the game when I'm playing. Okay, that's the hardest one in the game. Of course, I know which one you mean. Ooh. It's just a matter of timing, and also
the one that just keeps on.
You have to get the crushing, the crush solid is what I call it in the game. These guys here, you have to make it trigger, and then before it goes back, you have to get the triangle, because otherwise the plant will be able to get you. I'm just damage boosting my way through here, whatever. Good job. Should have Chris give me some tips on speedrunning this game. Yeah, anyway. The most satisfying triangle. I don't think it's the hardest triangle. I never thought it was. Do you think this is the hardest triangle?
It's challenging. This one?
Yeah, the one to the right.
This one is really challenging.
I think I should be able to get it right away. Just make it really low. What? Doesn't get easier than this, right?
Oh, I'm so jealous.
What's wrong with you guys? Come on.
It's amazing.
No, it's just make it really low. A different one? Okay. Great. Well, I should probably look at the. Got the triangle, then I screwed it up anyway so much.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say something about the plants at the very end of this level.
Is this the level that had the most satisfying part of the game for me?
You mean the end of the? Yeah, maybe. So here's a funny thing, and I love that streamers have actually pointed this out on streams. So these plants up here, there's absolutely no reason why there need to be 6 flowers here. Like these guys here, the 6 of these plants, they're pointless. Like one of them would have been enough on the bottom side of the platform, and the 3 at the top are pointless. The only reason why there's 6 of them here is because you hate them by the end of the level, and it's fun to just kill them all.
This is my favorite part of the game.
Exactly.
The entire game.
And I remember, was it from Man vs. Game? I don't remember who it was, but he went up here and they're like, "Oh my god, this is so satisfying to kill them all." And I knew that this would be satisfying. Yeah. That's why I put 6 flowers, like 6 plants there, because
I hate them so much.
Yeah.
Just hate them.
Oh well, I screwed this up now. Can do this in one go if you.
Yeah. You're bad.
Whatever. I'm terrible at my own game. Yep. Okay.
That looked easy.
I'm sorry. I've played it, I want to say, a couple of times.
Honestly,
on occasion.
One funny thing about speedrunning to me is that sometimes when I see people speedrun something, I do think, "Oh, this looks easy. Maybe I can do it."
Yeah.
The one instance where speedrunning consistently blew my mind is when I was watching the Awesome Games Done Quick, the Mega Man 2 speedrun with 4 players, and I was just looking at all of them doing all kind of things. I was just thinking, "Oh, I can never be this good. I can never be this good." And it felt really good, actually, to see something, because seeing usually just makes you think that it's easy to see something, but you know.
Sorry, so many people missed this triangle at the beginning. Here you go. I love this. At one point I wanted to mute the music or fade it out when you go down here and get that triangle.
It would be nice.
Because I thought it's so lonely down there and it's just out of bounds.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool to just have
subversion.
The whole yeah. No, it's not a subversion, I don't say that. By the way, I'm eating on the stream Nature Valley Crunchy
what is this?
yeah. Cereal bars. I'm not promoting them. I just want to talk about what I eat on the stream.
Oops.
Chris is making fun of you for saying subversion.
Why? Subversion. Subversion the game. Like this is Octahedron. I remember I used to get hit in this level a lot. Remember that? Oops.
Chris, you missed a lot of good speedrunning talk. I gave away so many secrets and shortcuts and
Yep.
and by the way, we're not going to upload an archive video for this, so that's it. You're never gonna no, I want to say what do I want to say? What did I want to say? Subversion. HDQ. Yes, because basically the entire existence of this game is because I wanted to make a game that would be a HDQ in some way. So that's why I made this game.
Because you like it so much.
Chris, you know what this means for you, of course. My expectations are pretty high for your future and speedrunning Octahedron. Oh, Mo hates this level, yeah, because he cannot figure out the patterns of the
Can't.
of the sparks.
I don't like it. Not I don't like it, as in it's bad. I just feel like this level makes me feel like I'm bad at the game.
But this level also has my favorite part in it, and you're gonna have to let me play it. There's a triangle down there.
I hate that part. I hate it so. I think that's the triangle that I hate the most, just because I'm struggling with this, and that section is just like this times 20, which is insane.
Octahedron platforms are sponsored by Nature Valley cereal bars. Exactly. They look the same.
So where's the triangle that I missed?
Yeah, it's down there. Here.
Ooh, of course. I have to do this again.
I probably shouldn't have said that. Nature Valley. Not sponsored. No endorsement whatsoever. We're way too dumb to
Exactly.
unprepared.
Exactly.
Yes. This part, yeah, you're gonna let me do the triangle up there, right? Because
I can't do it, even if I wanted to.
oh shit, Chris. I would throw them out. Just don't say they're related to Octahedron in any way, because that's gonna get us in trouble. Here's one of those little shortcuts. If you destroy the floor up there, you don't have to redo this whole section.
Yeah.
But I think actually a lot of people miss that, so I'm not sure if it's I like that I'm pointing at things on the screen all the whole time, but
People had no idea what you're pointing.
no one actually knows what I'm pointing at.
Yeah.
I want to have one of those fancy green screens. You know, in the background where it's just the outlines of us that show on
I
the
hate this
screen.
section. I just hate it so much because I have to open the gate and then I have to do
Yeah, you have
a
to
lot
go really
of
fast.
Yeah. Just don't like it.
By the way, you're not actually allowed to publicly
This is the game?
diss the game because you worked on it.
Well, I didn't say I hate the game. I said I hate this section.
No, it's part of the game.
But it's not the game.
Okay, no, this is not the part yet.
I know.
By the way, I just want to say something about the drill sprite and sort of how it scales, right? Vertically when it gets into small
This is very
corners.
difficult for me, by the way. I remember this now.
I made this easier because of you. You know that, right? Literally, I made this section easier because of Muhammad. If you think this section is too easy, it's Mo's fault. It needs to be harder. Wow. You want me to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. I'm bad at this game. I'm bad at this level. It's the only level that I hate.
Wow. I love this level. I like it. And it's if you had destroyed this thing up here, I wouldn't have to redo this.
Oh, I
Thanks.
forgot. Totally forgot. Yeah.
I wanted to mention something about the drill, but I'm gonna do it like up here, I think.
Just destroy this.
you think I'm going to die? So obviously, I mean, people who have played the game, they notice that the vertical length of the drill, see here, like it changes sort of when it goes into sort of smaller corners and it expands. I just want to say something really quick because so far no one else pointed this out. This took me a hell of a long time to program because it's not actually sprite scaling. So the drill is not a single. The drill is made up of, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, of about, I want to say 10 sprites, like just the end part of the drill. And instead of sprite scaling, what actually happens is that the spikes at the front of the drill, they sort of get closer together. And they don't skip, because I didn't like how it looked when you scale the entire drill, so I made it into like 10 different sprites that sort of have this 3D effect of going around. And then when you do this sort of thing with the drill expanding, getting closer together, it just looks so much nicer if you get the spikes getting sort of cramped and closer together and expanding again, instead of having a sprite that you just scale. Just patting myself on the shoulder there because no one else is doing it.
Cannot. I want to curse. I hate this section so much, because I can never make sense of it. I can never ever make sense of it.
I love it. I love this section so much because this to me actually is a sort of, I want to say a metaphor for, no, it's not a metaphor. It's
Subversion.
It's certainly a subversion. It just makes a point about how this is Octahedron for me, this section, because it's about getting into a situation that you have an overview of it, but you don't know 100% how you're going to handle it. But once you're inside of it, you just have to deal. You're inside, and then you better just figure it out because you only have a limited amount of time before you fall or get hurt or whatever. And this is that for me. Some people spend a lot of time waiting here and looking, okay, where's the safe spots? But
that's what I'm doing
exactly.
all the time.
There's not really any good safe spots. There are some, but it's impossible to just stand there for a long time. And that is the wrong approach. You want to just go and just. If I'm gonna screw this up now, wait, this is gonna be really bad.
It'd be amazing.
After all of this talking, no, you want to go in here and you just want to sort of handle it on the fly. You see, things are coming from the right, things are coming from the left, and you can even go back and forth, and you can even screw up. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so happy that you died because I told you to go make that shortcut, and you told me, "Do you think I'm gonna die?" You just died.
I want to say I never died there before.
Feels so good.
Which is a lie. But when it works, it's very satisfying. I usually, by the way, no-hit run this game from start to finish. It's the first time I've made any mistakes.
So, okay, I'm seeing a lot of stickers. I'm not even gonna ask.
I stood there for way too long, and you also need extensions for some of the stickers, by the way, so they display. You need like Chrome, like extensions in your browser, because people will post weird phrases or like man, whatever, which is from Man vs. Game, and it just looks like people are spamming the same word over and over, but it's actually
there's a meaning behind it.
You have to have an extension in your browser, and then you see those those emojis or stickers or whatever. The fuck.
Honestly, I tweeted this a few hours ago, but before the stream by a few hours.
Better Twitch TV. Look, guys, I'm an old man. I've stopped keeping up with technology now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of guy who, like, before starting any game, I would go on the options, I would just look at everything and mess with everything. And when I went to the options or the dashboard in Twitch, like this afternoon, I was just thinking, this is too much. I cannot handle this. And then I realized I am officially old. I just cannot do this anymore.
The funny thing is, Chris just said, that's never happened before. Good GDQ, man, right there. And the funny thing is, I always say this because I think the most... I make fun of this so much. I mean, I love speedrunners. But the most common thing you hear at GDQ is either, oh, that's okay. That's fine. That's not a big deal. When something terrible happens in the speedrun, they're like, yeah, we're going to pull off this. This is like a one frame window trick, and we're going to do this. It's going to save us like half an hour. And then they screw it up, and that's okay. It's fine.
That's that meme of everything is fine, and the dog in the chair with the fire.
Exactly. Or what happens a lot too is like there's, of course, RNG. Everything is RNG. Whenever something bad happens, it's subpixels. Why did this go wrong? Oh, it's subpixels. They don't even know what it means anymore. I think it's just it's either subpixels or it's I also, sorry, Chris, but let's be honest here. Like the frame windows. Like whenever they say this is a 3-frame window trick, or this is a 4-frame window trick, or this like 1-frame window, I don't think they actually know that whether it's really those amount of frames. They just like to say it because it sounds like it's very complicated or very difficult.
It's kind of like when your doctor is trying to explain what's wrong with you. They don't really want to tell you, but
whichever word they can use that makes it sound like the lay people don't understand, they will use that. Yeah, this was a subpixel thing. I just screwed this up. I could see that there was a subpixel glitch there or whatever.
Exactly.
And people will clap. Like 1-frame window trick. Everyone claps. Exactly. You could tell them anything, literally anything, and they would just buy it. I buy it.
I buy it too.
I watch GDQ and they're like, this is a 2-frame window. And I clap. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's exactly. They're called emotes that I'm terribly sorry I called them something else. I mean I use line messaging, so they're called they're called stickers, so whatever.
I mean I use Telegram as well to talk with people like Navjan and there's stickers there, but yeah. The Twitch terminology I'm not up to date with it. I think I missed a triangle, but you know what? I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, just go through. I just want to say, considering that we only started with this whole Twitch thing like a few days ago, I think we're doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually bought a webcam just for this thing, so that we could stream.
Yeah.
This is my favorite track in the game. Okay. This piece of music by Andre.
Andre did a lot of amazing tracks for this.
Andre is, I want to actually give a shout out to Andre, to all the musicians that have contributed to the game. But Andre, oh my God, it's funny because Andre came on board pretty late in the game. I had used Andre's music as temp tracks in the game, like all the stuff that he has on Spotify, and he was my favorite Spotify artist for like the first 3 years of working on the game. I listened to his music all the time while working on the game, and then eventually I'm like, this music works so well, why don't I just try to get him to make music? And the original idea was to get a lot more artists and have him just make 3 tracks for the game, and he ended up making 12. And he made those 12 tracks, I don't know if I should say this or not, but he made those 12 tracks in like 2 months?
Which is insane.
And it was just, this guy is completely nuts, and he was always like, he was making the most amazing sounds in the shortest amount of time. He's the most unpretentious artist I've ever worked with. He was open to ideas. We were actually working with around 20 total tracks that he gave me. The original amount of tracks that he gave me to choose from, and new ones that he made, were like, I want to say 30 to 40. That were sort of, some of them were new ones that he made for Octahedron, some of them were really basic ideas for songs that he had started. And I could pick from all of them, and we narrowed them down to 12 at the end. But he was ready to make basically 20 tracks for me in such a short amount of time, and that's just, to this day, it just blows my mind that they're all such high quality, and they're all exactly what I was looking for, totally his style and his aesthetic, and this. Some of it is really high energy, some of it is kind of wistful, some of it is just pumping, rhythmic, and you missed the triangle at the end. You don't care.
Thank you, Yusuf, or should I say Nafjan. When's the B-side soundtrack of unused music? We actually talked about that. Maybe you should talk about...
How did... I just want to answer... Kung Fu, you mean how I pitched working on the game to Andre? I think that's probably what you mean. Well, he's such a laid back, such a cool guy that I literally just sent him an email. I found his email. I think it was his SoundCloud or something where I found his email, and I sent him an email saying, hey, I'm working on this game, blah, blah, blah. I love your music. I've been listening to it over the years. It would be really cool if I could either license some music from you, if there's something that isn't exclusively licensed to a label, which there wasn't, unfortunately. Yeah, the actual pitch was that. Can I license some of your music? Do you have anything that you didn't exclusively license to another label? And he said no. Everything it's gonna be a hassle from like figuring out the licensing thing. But he's like, hey, it's fine. I'm gonna make some new music for you. And he was so freaking gung-ho. There wasn't even any discussion about anything. It was just, obviously there was money and everything, but it was literally... The thing is, he replied to my first email, and he said, before we even talked about money, he said, I already started working on something. The first email he sent me as a reply to, hey, would you like to work on this? He's like, yeah, this is exciting. I already started working on something. Without knowing who I was, without knowing what the terms would be, which, yeah, I mean, mad freaking props to that guy. It's just tremendous to work with. Chipsel was a friend long before she worked on the game. Chipsel worked for Brave Wave. She made music for Brave Wave albums in the past. Even before I started work on the game, I met her in 2014. She helped with the event at EGX 2014. She literally helped at the stand to sort of. We were also doing Brave Wave stuff there. We were selling CDs. She was helping, just coordinating things, talking to people. And that's the first time we started talking about, hey, maybe your music would fit the game. But it wasn't until 1.5 years later when we really decided, yeah, let's do this. And very organic process, not super uncomplicated, and her music is amazing. I mean, everyone loves. She made 4 tracks, and they turned out fantastic. They're a great contrast to the rest of the music, and yeah, whole story. Not much to say there. So, B-side soundtrack of unused music. Chris, actually, there is some unused music. I have about 4 or 5 pieces of music that are unfinished that were going to be in the game, but I just didn't have time to finish them. The original trailer music, Greenlight trailer, was going to be among them, but I don't know. I don't know what happens with the game in the future, DLC or anything. I don't think DLC, but we'll see what happens. But maybe there's going to be more music, more levels. We'll see. Certainly some of that stuff that hasn't been used would be in there. I didn't pitch Andre with a trailer. I didn't even have the chance to show him anything about the game before he started working on music. That's the crazy thing about it, because I think I might have linked him to the website. I don't know. But he was so crazy, he started work on the game before he knew anything about it, really. Before we had talked in depth. Wow, you just made that mistake that everyone makes.
I'm not paying attention, I'm just listening to you. I'm looking at the chat. This is how I'm gonna justify every bad thing
I understand. I think you mentioned in the past that it just worked easily, yeah.
About chips.
Dedicated music artist right there. Yeah, Andre is a freaking, I want to say he's a beast. He's just, and actually there were concerns about one of the licensed, there's 3 licensed tracks in the game that were pre-existing. They were, some people owned the rights to them, but they were really important to me. They were at the end of the game, all of them, and they were really important for me to have in the game. And with 2 of them, there were issues shortly before the game was going to be released. We were struggling with some of the license agreements, and they were getting copyright flags, and still not all of it has worked out. But so at the last minute, literally, I think days before certification of the game on consoles, we were faced with the reality of maybe having to replace one of the tracks. And I emailed Andre about this and said, I don't know what to do. Could you make something for me in 3 days? And he's like, yes, I'm going to send you a sample tonight. I'm going to send you 3 samples, and you can pick from one of them, whichever one you like. I'm going to make something. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy's just complete. And I don't know. He's in Brazil, by the way, and he's a DJ who's touring all the time and who's quite a busy guy. But he was just right there,
dedicated for the
same night. I got that email that he was ready to make something. Not just that he was ready to make something, but he said, I'm going to send you 3 samples tonight, and you pick which one you like better. But it ended up not happening. We figured out most of the licensing issues.
One thing I gotta say, I like about your approach to the music is that, I mean, we're the co-founders of Brave Wave alongside Alex CVX Freak, and we have access to tons of the best video game musicians in the world. We have Manami Matsumai of Mega Man 1. we have Yoko Shimomura, we have so many old school musicians. And I remember from the very beginning, I used to always pitch to Marco that maybe we should like use Manami here, maybe we should use Keiji of Kinjigaran. But Marco had such a specific focus and vision that if something doesn't work, it just you don't want to just shoehorn it in just because we can work with these people. Another thing that I really appreciated is that you said when people hear that Manami or Keiji are making music for the game, the music has to fit the game.
Yeah.
And you don't want to like betray those people, making them think that maybe it's gonna be like a Mega Man-ish track or a Ninja Gaiden track, and then it's just it just ends up being a very different kind of track just because it has to fit the game. And you didn't want to. You didn't want to disappoint people, and I really appreciate that because I'm the opposite kind of artist. For me, if I want something, I'm gonna do anything to just even shoehorn it, just to make it fit. And you're completely not like that.
I know I could have had the added exposure of having like Manami Matsumoto from the original Mega Man composer, or Keiichi Yamagishi from who we've all worked with. I've worked with him. I've mixed an album for him. I co-produced it. I could have had the added exposure from that, but their style just didn't make sense for the game. So, Kung Fu, was this the first game he worked on? Andre, he licensed one of his songs to, I think, a FIFA game like years ago, maybe even decades ago, but he had never made music specifically for a game. And also, he actually doesn't play video games. He doesn't really, I think, get them, but he didn't care. He was just gung-ho, he was just on board from the beginning, and he's just a really great guy. Extra content, like reminiscing on hard mode, would just be a cherry on top of the current game rather than adding an omission, if that makes sense. Yeah, the thing is, originally the game was not going to unlock additional difficulty modes, it was going to unlock a remix mode, where all the levels would be remixed, and actually started 1.1 and 1.2 in slightly remixed form already, where the idea was that I would bring mechanics from later in the game. You would start the game with all the upgrades, and so you have the drill. If you in your previous playthrough, if you unlock the bonus upgrades, you could also get those in a new game plus, and then you would start from the beginning in remix mode, and the levels would have mechanics and enemies and ideas from later in the game. So we would start 1.1, and like instead of the regular balloon enemies that just go up and don't move, the level 1.1 would have the evil balloon bully enemies, the big ones that just go back and forth. And I started designing remix levels that way, but I quickly realized I wouldn't be able to get them done in time. And again, I worked on this game for 4.5 years, and I was at the point where I had to say I have to get it out. So, but I don't know, it might still happen. Yeah, Miles, the thing about the level editor is this. I kind of want to show off more of the tools that I used to make the game, like the level editor, the in-game tools, the color tools, and all of those things. The problem is this, so many people have pointed out the amount of different ideas that are in every level, like there's always something new. And here's a funny thing that happened with Mario Maker. So when Mario Maker came out, a lot of people actually thought, because Nintendo kind of pushed this narrative, right, of this is like the tools that we use internally. It's not. It really isn't. Like, Mario Maker is not what Nintendo uses internally. Like, they had to kind of use the idea of the level design tools and then make a game around it, which is what Mario Maker is. Because if you've ever looked at ROM hacks for Mario games, you see exactly this thing, that many elements in the game do not interact with one another. These games do not have universal physics, or they don't have everything is hand-coded, so interactions between parts, between enemies, obstacles, and so forth, they have to be hand-coded. Like, every possible interaction between every enemy. Yeah, even if you have hand-coded physics and enemies that behave in a certain way, and you have classes and all of those things, that's fine. But the reality is, once you give someone a level design tool, a level editor, they can do so many unpredictable things with that. So many things that you would have never ever thought of. Combine them in unusual ways that can break your game, and it's just it requires so much testing. It's ridiculous the amount of testing it takes to make a level editor public, ready for the public. That it's just not worth it. You can throw stuff in a level in Octahedron or place enemies in a certain way in a level that'll completely break them. They will not behave as they are supposed to. They interact with other enemies in really unexpected ways. So for me, exactly, even Mario Maker got broken. And they put so many patches, and if you follow sort of the Mario Maker community on YouTube, you know that there's still so many broken things about that game, but broken in really obscure ways that people have found after sometimes years since the game has been out. And you just literally add twice the amount of development time if you want a level editor for a game like this. There's just so many different aspects that play together here. I could have never done that. I could have never ever made everything interact. It would have added another 2-3 years or so.
By the way, maybe you should stop playing the game and play the prototypes.
You want us to go to the prototypes and play those?
I think people would enjoy that.
I'm gonna screw it all up because I don't know how in OBS to switch to thing to.
Of course.
Actually, you know what? You know what people can play? Should we do that? Should we play the prototypes?
Yeah, would be cool.
Okay.
To show the very first version that you showed me.
Okay, let's do prototypes. We forgot to do our fake spontaneous thing where you would say talk about the level names and say, "Oh, Marco, what does this level name mean?" And then I would say, "Oh, Mohammed, I'm sorry, I can't tell you about that because the level names people have to figure it out themselves."
Netra. I wonder what Netra is.
This is really well planned.
This is awful.
So no, we're the comment on the level names is that we don't talk about the level names. But actually, I hope that one day people will sort of talk about them. I hope the community is going to be big enough at one point that people are going to really care about what the level names mean and blah blah. Maybe it has to do with the lore, or I don't know. It's not that important, to be completely honest. But you know, once you get enough of an audience for something, then usually there's people obsessed enough with this sort of thing that they will try to make sense of everything in the game. But I think it's fun. People have asked me obviously sometimes about the level names, or just pointed out that they're weird or whatever. But there's a lore, L-O-R-E, exactly. Anyway, the level names, they all have meaning in different ways, and they relate to also even part of it. Some of the level names and the world names relate to the story, especially to the ending, and but there's no point in me just giving this stuff away. If someone wants to find out about it, then they can. And
if you figured all of them out, it's part of the Illuminati, the gaming Illuminati.
Yeah, but not the feminist Illuminati, but it is part of the secret, which I'm not a part of because now I'm a game developer, so I'm I shouldn't be talking about this on the stream. The Illuminati will hunt me down and kill me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play the prototype.
How? Do you know how?
Yeah, no. I was just joking. I know how to do it.
Okay.
I'm lying.
Okay,
let's try to do this in OBS. Let's figure out how to.
You know what? I'm actually craving pizza right now. Just because of this.
This is the last thing we're gonna do because I think we're going over with the time anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do like a game capture. Okay, we're gonna close this window now, so it's gonna be very black. We're gonna start a prototype, and then we're gonna get the very first one. These are all the ones we're playing are all in the collector's edition of the game. I'm gonna get this on in a second. Oh, OBS is crashing. That's great. That's always good. Look, literally, it's freezing right
Thanks,
now.
Yusuf, for coming.
The stream is not over. We're still struggling. We're getting the window of the. Let's just look. It's crashing. It's freezing. I can't do anything. Yeah, let's remove this. Whoops! OBS has crashed.
Of course.
So we're gonna hopefully be right back, and once I restart OBS, and then I think it should be.
Oh, I just realized they can hear us.
Yeah, of course. We're back now. I already started streaming it. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify, this is not my fault. It's all OBS's fault because it literally crashed on us when I tried to add a new game capture source or replace the other one, I want to say. So there you go. Okay, is this gonna work? Hopefully it's gonna work. Yeah, there you go. That's the first prototype of the game.
Yep.
It looks beautiful, doesn't it?
This is the very first one that I played.
Are you gonna? And it's what's going on. I think it's running in slow motion.
Yeah.
Because once again, OBS is freezing. Does it work better now? Oh yeah, now. Okay, good. Okay, so okay, it's gonna run. Okay, now it runs. Yeah.
How did I die?
This is late 2013. So it is late 2013, and it was the very, very first prototype. I made it in about a month after I started figuring out how to make games half-assedly in Game Maker. And yeah, basically it's just...
one thing, there's no surfing here.
There's no surfing.
Not
Absolutely
this,
not.
yeah.
No, there's no surfing. And everything is obviously very bad programmer art, just all temporary programmer art. But this is, by the way, already a level that is kind of similar in the layout was at EGX.
The next one.
Yeah, like a demo level at EGX that I think probably Curtis would have played, and I don't know who else, but... And it's very boring. The first thing that was in was these wall teleport thingies.
Honestly, the most important thing here is that you were so you had the idea of what if you can make your own platform.
Chris, that's very nice of you to say, but let's face it, it's not. It really isn't. Yeah, it's just this idea of making. So before this prototype, there were basically you would go horizontally and make platforms, but I quickly realized it's not fun because you make platforms and you sort of make steps. So you want to do you want to be able to go up. That's the
you realize you can't have like horizontal.
Yeah.
And I really remember this was actually challenging for, like, if you can compare this section to the finished one at 1.1, it's just tells you a lot about how
this was all
much you thought
hard.
about level design, approachable level design, how you can make something that is a nice gimmick that is it's not too challenging.
It was never meant to be like a tutorial or anything, and this level also I think this is it. This is literally where the level ends. Funnily enough, though, the character getting red when you make platforms was in the first prototype. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I remember this.
And then, okay, I'm gonna jump to the next level. And can I show something really quick? So here's an upgrade. Here's an upgrade that was in the game until for a very, very long time. It was supposed to be a platform upgrade. Like it was supposed to be a new ability, basically. And that's the horizontal platform making, because surfing was not yet in the game. And so you had this instead. So you hold down the right trigger and you sort of make platforms, right?
I forgot about this.
And this was the first way of solving, okay, how do you maneuver, in general, how do you navigate a level horizontally?
Yeah.
So this was the first, and actually this was in until very, very, very late in the game. I think it was only scrapped in 2016, late 2016, when the surfing became so powerful, like you could surf so much in the game, and it was so much fun that this became obsolete, because why would you want to do this if you can just surf?
Yeah.
And it was also complicated because you would have to make a platform, then hold another button down, and then run back and forth. But you can sort of stay on the platforms longer, and you can see next to the guy, it shows the number of platforms that you have, and it was always going to be an upgrade. I always thought this would be an upgrade later you get in the game, and we can even go to a later prototype if OBS doesn't crash again. we're going to close this and we're going to start up. Let's start the third one that is in the collector's edition, which already looks quite different. So it has sort of that neon thing going on. Sorry, it's gonna look. This happens every single time I close out of a game window. It just freezes.
Yeah, this is bad.
Is this normal?
You can't make a new game capture.
That's what I did last time. That's when it crashed.
Well,
how do you people deal with
what
this?
if you disable the eye?
No, wait. Now I look at this. Now it's working again.
Is it?
Now it's crashing again. It's freezing. Look at this thing.
We're two dads trying to figure this out.
No. It's literally freezing.
Crashing, yeah.
The moment I try to change the game capture, the source of the game capture, when I changed it, like when I close one window and it just crashes. I'm using Windows 7, by the way. Maybe it doesn't like Windows 7. I don't really know. But we managed to make it work before, so we will make it work again. Okay, let's remove this. Yes, I want to remove this. And you want to bet it's going to crash again when I remove this.
It's going to crash. It's going to crash. Oh.
I like how I removed the game capture, but the window stays open with the game capture in it.
That is weird.
Yeah, it's completely frozen. Look at this thing. Okay. Thanks for your patience, because now we've got to put the order of this back. Okay, there we are. Okay. So this is another prototype. This is like in the collector's edition. If you own it, it's the third one, or I want to say alpha build, basically. So what you have here is you have a bunch of different platforms. You have the basic one. But the basic one at this point was the brick one.
Yeah.
It was just it replaced the basic one. And then this is the surfing. See, this is how the surfing used to be. It used to last like very short distance. You already have the beam, sort of. Then you have the shadow platform, which is, as you can see, the shadow platform is just a copy of the player character that is horizontally mirrored. And it used to be able, you can collect things that are in the other side. Like I can collect this thing here that is on the other side. There you go. I collected this now. And it was supposed to be an optional upgrade sort of thing, where you could go through certain levels and collect things that otherwise you wouldn't be able to get. But it just became redundant. And this is the first drill platform. Isn't it great?
Yeah, I remember this. Actually, let me bring the illustration for it here.
Yeah, I actually still have that in my sketch for the drill. And the thing with all the old platforms is that whatever their power was, the weapon,
Can they see it? I have no idea.
They can see it. It's delayed. It's super laggy. They can see it. Yeah. This is great. My fantastic sketch for the drill platform. Yeah. The problem with, the thing about the early platforms was that you would make it, and you see, until it runs out, it doesn't even drop down. So you can't just go above an enemy and kill it. It's very slow. Because the idea was the platform faults, not that it just that something drops out of the platform. And so the beam one was the only one that was kind of immediate. And it was the same with everything else. The drill one too, it just sits there, and then when it expires, it shoots out those drills, but they're tiny, and they just didn't make a lot of sense, honestly. Still a sort of a one-hit kill thing. What I can show though is, so there was another. Okay, this is pretty wild. So there's this. How should I call this? The swap or the switch platform, where you can switch the entire level on its horizontal axis. You see this?
I do not remember this.
Yeah, it's completely insane. Well, I don't know why I came up with this. The thing is, it actually works in the sense that you can get through this part of the level. Like, okay. But, so now I jump. Okay, now I can go back on this. And you have to sort of see, but it's really bad because you can sort of see the shadow of the rest of the level.
Yeah.
And you make it here. Oh, okay, now you can jump here. But already the next one is impossible. Where do I go from here? Okay, look, I can make it here, and so this wasn't really well thought out. It was just a really, really basic idea. At one point, I'm like, oh, what would it be like if every at the time we made a platform, the whole level switched, right? Designing an entire level around this or making this platform usable in every level would have been a nightmare, a complete nightmare. So obviously it was discarded. And you have, yeah, this platform, well, we already showed how this works. Let's go to the, oh, so here's early enemies, viruses. Actually, the drill platform is kind of fun together with that chaining mechanic. I'm going to show it in a second. Yeah. At this point in the game, the viruses all give you back a platform point. As you can see, whenever you kill one, they give you back one platform point. Which I guess you could have maybe used here to get up here. Exactly, to skip this. But normally you would have to go down here. Very boring level. Just, these are all basically test levels. And this is an early version of what would eventually be, believe it or not, the those electro blocks that rotate. Yeah. Here they were just platforms that turn into spikes every so often, so you'd have to just traverse them quickly. But they're not very interesting. And I think there's a puzzle mechanic that might be of interest to people who play through a game that I'm going to show really quick. So these are the old checkpoints, these yellow thingies. Mm-hmm. They would warp you for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm gonna get to a puzzle mechanic. I don't know if this is interesting to people, but anyway, I'm gonna do this now. So this thing here, this laser thing here. Okay, so there's, you touch this and these green gates open, and you obviously have to realize, oh shit, I just messed up the level. I messed it up. It's gone. No. So you realize that obviously if these open, if that laser is sort of touched, you have to maybe find a way to get them to open, stay open permanently. So you place a platform in here, okay, and now you can go through as fast as possible, and that's it. But really the thing is, there were so many more interesting mechanics later with using the platform to do things, so it was just completely redundant. And this is really boring and slow. And
you said you want to show him something about the shadow?
Did I?
Yeah. Maybe not.
Actually, there's a test level. There's a playground level that uses the shadow platform. Wow, amazing level exit. Oh, actually, this is something I loved and that I never revisited. Yeah, no, the solution is not that. So I had this idea of having the entire level architecture move horizontally and wrapping. And I recently replayed this when I put together the builds for the collector's edition. And I realized, hey, this is fun. This is kind of cool. Like having this whole thing, and then you have to sort of respond to it on the fly. Oh no, I can't go up there now. The only way that this came back was with the moving spikes eventually. In World 5, 3, I think, you get the moving spikes, sort of they wrap like that, but not the entire level architecture. And I'm dying now. But I like this idea, and it's kind of a shame that I never totally revisit it.
Could be part of a DLC or something if you ended up wanting to make more levels
or something. Okay, this is the end of this prototype, and we're probably gonna be back to OBS crashing. But I'm gonna try. Here's something I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump to the EGX demo. That's the last thing.
Yeah.
It's the last thing I'm doing. Jump to the EGX demo and maybe
then change
it before I close the window.
Exactly.
We figured this out. No, look at this. It's doing the same thing. Okay, this is going to be the last one. Then we have to end the stream because I think they're not going to be happy if we... Because we're hogging the Square Enix channel right now. It's remarkable how this just never works, is it?
Yep.
Oh, now it opened. I'm going to try and get this back on. Did I select the right thing? And now I just have to be able to click OK. Okay, wow, amazing. Without
crashing.
That's completely amazing.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if Curtis is still in the stream, probably not. But that's the first demo that I was at EGX with the game with this demo. Chips was also there, and it's a much more, yeah, it had these stupid tutorial screens because there was no organic way to explain the game. So here you have a lot of the platforms, except the time platform. That's one thing I didn't show. There's actually a platform in the game that stops time, that stops all the enemies, everything, the light bulbs and so on, It's in the collector's edition. Yeah, this is 2014. That time platform, you can try it if you get the collector's edition. You can sort of mess with it. It breaks certain things in the game, but it mostly works. But the thing is just too powerful, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense because it didn't have anything to do with platforming. It just made time stop. But here you can see, okay, here's the drill platform, a little bit more advanced. And here you can do something fun because you can still do the... See, like you can just sort of create a lot of these drill platforms, and then you can do this thing. Oh, great. Yeah, this was kind of fun at one point. And also it was fun with the beam, which was a little different here. But you would just do this, and you could go on for a long time because you'd have a lot of platforms. Longer than you would be able to surf. It's just a waste of platforms, really, but basically. And then there's these triangles on the right side of the screen that you see here.
This one is kind of like...
Yeah, this is a shield. Before there were hearts in the game, this gave you an extra hit point, basically like this, and then you lose it. And here you can use the shadow platform to collect these triangles that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. And that was the point of the shadow platform, that you would be able to activate and interact with things that otherwise would be out of reach. And I think that's pretty much all the platforms in this level. Yeah, spiral bulbs. You noticed those. You know what?
Hello, Mel. Mel's in the chat.
Oh, greetings from Amsterdam. Hey, Mel. Hey, Yanka. Mel is a playtester.
Good fun.
Was it important? We mentioned her earlier about like she was playtesting the game and in a really intuitive sort of way. But the spiral light bulbs I wanted to mention. Basically, they are actually still in the game, but I disabled them because the light bulb shapes are randomized in the sense that you never know which ones. Which light bulbs will show in any level. The spiral ones, you know what? I didn't like them anymore because they didn't seem to fit the design. They looked a little too organic, too rounded, too whatever. So I just disabled them. They're still on the sprite sheet. They're still technically. I could just flip a switch and they would show up in levels again, but I just didn't like them anymore. Too future, yeah. They're so future. Yeah, but that's it. Oh, there's another power-up. This power-up, the power-ups would drop from light bulbs. This is a snake. No, a snake. What am I saying? A snake?
Snail.
A snail. It's not a snake. It's a snail, as you can see. And what it would do is it make your platform last longer. That's all it would do. It just stays there for longer. Completely redundant in the final game. Completely as it just made no sense whatsoever with the extended surfing, and you could hold down the button for a long time. So yeah.
Here's a good question we have.
I'm not drinking this water anymore.
I like how Jan was just put.
Yeah, my cat just put his paws into the glass that I was drinking my water out of, so it's tainted now. Okay, one more question, and after that, I think we should end the stream. The level mechanics design. Any ways you generate ideas for mechanics for each of the levels, and any ways of making them fresh and new, like your level mechanics? I think. Well, here's the thing about level mechanics in general. I mentioned forward design earlier, and a lot of that has to do with that. And for me, that was a revelation when I started reading about this, and also when I started to understand what it really meant. To have a core mechanic, and your entire game is built around that core mechanic. Every decision is informed by what the basic idea of your game was. And of course you have sort of side mechanics or additional mechanics, but if they're completely unrelated to the core idea of what you were trying to do, then basically, for me, with this game, they were not worth pursuing. That's why so much stuff was discarded, so many platform types, so many ideas. There were so many other mechanics that I just got rid of because sometimes I had entire levels that how the mechanics changed, it didn't make any sense anymore. And how I develop new mechanics is just I would play test levels like these with existing ideas, and then I would realize, hey, if you have a beam, like, okay, I would come up with the beam platform, which made sense because the beam platform was a logical way to kill enemies below you, right? you have a laser that shoots down because you jump above the enemies. So you want a beam that points downwards, and you want to kill enemies that way. So if you have a beam, you have this white sort of beam that points down. What other ways could there be to use this beam? And one thing that popped into my mind right away was you want to charge something with that beam.
Yeah.
You want to sort of get light into some mechanic, or just shine the light into something, and that's where those charge canisters, those things came from. You want to be able to charge them, and with it was the same with everything else in the game. So if you have a platform that you can move horizontally, you introduce problems. You want to introduce problems, right? You want to say like, how do I make the player's life harder? And that is, you screw with this ability, or you say he can move horizontally. So how do we make it so that he can no longer move, or the platform behaves erratically? And one thing was the magnets, or the vacuums, or whatever people call them, right? That sort of pull the platform in. It was just like, what if the platform was not under your control? Something was just pulling or pushing it. So the logical idea was, let's have magnets from either magnets, and then you test those ideas. You design magnets, you code them, and then you put them in the level, and you realize, hey, this is fun, because all of a sudden they're a problem, but they're also fun. Because I designed one level specifically with them being a problem, which is the first platform level in World 2, where they mostly will pull your platform away from you, and then World what is it? 3. And in World 3 you have another one that is called Flux, where mostly you make the beam platform, and then the magnets will pull you, and you will just glide over the enemies. So this is the idea. Okay, the magnets are helping you now, basically. And literally every single mechanic in the game came from this. How could I create problems for the player? How can I build on existing mechanics and prototyping those mechanics in levels, and then building levels around them? Nothing was built around aesthetic ideas first, and nothing was built from, as much as some enemies or some ideas in the game resemble obviously archetypes in other video games, it was never done that way. It was never like, oh, games have spiders or bats or beetles. I don't know, some games have those, I guess. So I'm gonna make that too. I'm gonna put those in the game. It was just always about, no, this fits the game. This kind of enemy fits the game, so I'm gonna put that in. Penguins, exactly. To summarize, at penguins.
By the way, Mel, you cannot play faster than me. And you can't prove it. I'm here playing, and you're not. You're in Amsterdam.
That's true. Sometimes she goes better than you, but it's a long time ago, I want to say.
She's not better than me. Well,
you know what? I think if there's ever going to be an update for this game, I hope that answered your question. I probably went off on a huge tangent there with that answer, but I hope it answered part of your question at least, Luca.
We should actually have a Mega Man race, Twitch race.
Yeah, but I want to put penguins in the game now. I have to find a way to shoehorn those in. It's going to be the only enemy where people are going to ask, this doesn't fit the game. Yeah. Like, mechanically, it doesn't make any sense, and everyone's going to wonder why.
If you kept on with the Twitch chat, you would have had an idea. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. A cow level. There's no penguin level.
Do it like a cow level.
I like the penguins in New Super Mario Wii. It is Wii, right? The ones that glide on the ground. Actually, the penguins could make sense in the way that they sort of glide on the ground and they just sort of pass through your beam. That could be interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be a sort of Christmas. It's gonna be a remix of Jingle Bells. I'm gonna ask Andre.
I would unbuy the game.
Andre, since Andre's up for anything, I could probably ask him. Andre, I really need a remix in your style of Jingle Bells, and he would do it.
He's gonna make a remix.
And you know what? It's gonna be great.
It is, just because he's Andre.
Okay, thanks so much, Pixel or Luca. I feel stupid calling people by their actual names because then they don't know who I'm referring to in the chat. But I think we should stop. We have to go eat something, and I think the stream has gone way over the allotted time anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll stream again someday. I don't know. Maybe Octahedron, maybe something else. I would like to do a stream one day where we play Mega Man and analyze, like, go through like Mega Man level design thingies.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that.
Could be fun.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for being in the chat and for asking so many cool questions, or for contributing and everything. And this was our first stream, and I hope it wasn't too terrible. I know
I think we were good. Actually.
We did okay. I think we did okay. Okay, well, see you guys, and let's crash OBS. It's literally